Good morning, everyone. I would like to call to order the Pasco County Board of Commissioners meeting for May 7th, 2019. I would like to remind everyone to please silence all electronic devices. At this time, I would like to ask you to rise for the invocation and pledge. Thank you.
Please bow your heads. O merciful Creator, your hand is open wide to satisfy the needs of every living creature. Make us thankful for your loving providence and grant that we, remembering the account that we must one day give, may be faithful stewards of your good gifts. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Chair, will you please call the roll?
Yes. Thank you. District 2, Commissioner Moore. Here. District 3, Commissioner Starkey. Here. District 4, Commissioner Wells. District 5, Commissioner Mariano.
Here.
District 1, Chairman Oakley.
Here.
Thank you.
Now is the time for public comment. Citizens are given an opportunity to comment on items coming before the board during this public comment section. The board is also public comment on items placed on a future board agenda or other business under their purview. Public comment for public hearing items are taken this afternoon in public hearings beginning at 1:30. Individuals speaking during public comment will be given 3 minutes to speak. After stating your name and the address for the clerk, the timer will start on the podium and a countdown. After 2 minutes, one beep will sound and the light will change from green to yellow, letting you know that you have 1 minute remaining. After the timer is up, 2 beeps will sound and the light will change from yellow to red, indicating 3 minutes are up and you should close your comments. Do we have a sign-in sheet? This one?
Yes, that's it. Yes.
Okay.
We have Anne Marie Ryan signed up.
Okay.
If you could come forward, please. Thank you.
Is that the only one?
It is.
Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. I want to thank you for this opportunity. I want to thank you for giving us the opportunity as a community to come before you back last month. But we had made an oversight, and today I'd like to correct that. Today I'd like to have a moment to give a certificate of appreciation to Joe Richards, the Senior Assistant County Attorney. Joe Richards played an integral part in our successful completion of the Pasco Utilities, Inc. Connection. Joe had been there through many phases of our operations for over several years. He was on telephone conferences, personal conferences. He met with the DEP. He met with the PSC. He worked with the department heads for your Pasco Utilities and Utilities, Inc. of Florida, as well as the Summertree Water Alliance. His expertise and his guidance kept us from running into problems with statutes and different procedures that we were new to. He kept us moving forward in very difficult times, and he was always there for us. The Summertree Water Alliance and community are grateful to Joe for his integrity, expertise, and guidance. His calm demeanor and recommendations were always reassuring. He gave us confidence and support when we needed it most. We want to thank Joe for taking the time to help Summertree and for making a difference in the quality of life for the residents of Summertree.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I know it's out of what we normally would do, but Anne Marie, thank you very much for coming forward and honoring Joe, because Joe is a
quiet man, but he's always been there. It must have been 20, 30 times that he came and supported us through all of our years to get where we have, and working with you as well.
So if I could, just to honor Joe as well, could we all go down and take a picture with him in the plaque?
Yes,
Would that be all right?
that'd be fine.
All right. Joe, come on up.
I have no one else signed up for public comment. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak at this time? Seeing no one, we'll move on to the consent agenda. And I have a pull sheet with C12 withdrawn, C33 withdrawn. I entertain a motion from the board for the rest of the agenda items. Second. Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Motion passed. Okay, move on to regular item number 1.
Normally, this is the schedule of investments. Normally, this is on consent. We don't have anything special to say about it, but let me know if you ever want our investors to come and make a presentation for you. It's just really an update for you. Thank you very much.
Okay. Any other comments? Entertain a motion. Regular item 1. It says approved.
Thank you. Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion passed. R2.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm here today to...
Excuse me a minute.
Yes?
Can that be turned up? Because that's very low. I'm not hearing her very well.
Oh.
You've turned it up, okay?
Hello? Is that better?
That's better, I think, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Good morning. But hold on. There it is. So this morning, I'm here to introduce...
Okay, name for the record, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. Alexandra Laporte with Planning and Development. I'm here to introduce an ordinance for a temporary 180-day moratorium on the submission and acceptance of applications not previously filed for new mini warehouse and self-storage facilities. This temporary moratorium would allow Planning and Development Department to research best practices for the development of mini warehouse and self-storage facilities within the county. It would also allow us to analyze whether additional standards relating to these uses should be incorporated in the Land Development Code. And it would allow us to make sure that those standards would support design standards to preserve and enhance visual and functional characteristics as outlined in the comprehensive plan. There have been similar ordinances adopted by Tamarack, Florida, Miami, Florida, and Collier County as a few examples. There's been many others across the country that have done so, and we would like to pursue that. We'd like the board to approve and allow us to conduct public hearings on the matter in the following manner. The local planning agency hearing in May 23rd at 1:30 in Newport Richey. The first reading for the board, June 4th, 2019 at 1:30 in Dade City. And there has been a correction on the second hearing and adoption of this proposed moratorium for the board to June 19th instead of what you see on the board there, which is June 18th, which was the original board hearing, but because of local elections, we moved to 19th. So I apologize for that mistake there, but it is June 19th.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, for Mr. Moore.
Yeah, thanks to the team for bringing this. I know you worked hard on this, and my assumption is you probably met with all the commissioners and detail them before this meeting. But I think it's important that we move forward with this. We had these discussions about, especially on some of our major corridors like 54, 56, these storage buildings are almost like placeholders along those roadways, and what we're doing is losing the possibility of having major employment centers on that land. So again, there's a place, there's a time for them, but I think it's taking that time to figure out the best ordinance moving forward is the right way to go about things. Again, anybody that's applied, anybody that's already had a pre-app meeting, they can still move forward. We never want to take something away from somebody that's already been given the opportunity, and that's not what's going to happen here.
Correct.
So it is, but again, I'm glad you brought it forward. I think it's the right thing to do, and I would assume we have board support on this. Hopefully we do.
Yes, Ms. Starkey.
Yeah, I don't want to see storage units taking up valuable space that could be bringing targeted jobs here. To that end, in our meeting, we discussed how we were giving discounts or possibly mobility fee credits to places like auto, Jiffy Lube, and tire repair shops. And I emailed David because I wasn't really clear on who's getting mobility fee credits.
Mm-hmm.
I just couldn't remember. So I am curious, are we giving mobility fee credits to places like that? Because I think we should be giving mobility fee credits to targeted industries.
Right.
But not to these. I'm wondering why we have such a proliferation, and maybe that's why.
So they're not really credits, but all of our mobility fees have some level of subsidy built into them. So this, and we talked about this during the mobility fee update. Self-storage has a subsidy in it. Most retail uses have some form of subsidy. It's not subsidized nearly to the extent as office, industrial, and hotel are. Those are subsidized all the way down to zero. But all retail uses have some form of subsidy built into our mobility fee update. The only way we could go change that is if we went back and revisited that. We weren't planning on revisiting that soon because we just went through an update.
Well, I'm going to state what I said during that update, and I think we have the hottest real estate market on 54, 56 in, maybe
Cuba area.
Florida, but certainly it's very hot, and I don't think we need to be giving away some of these subsidies anymore. I think we've done what we wanted, except for I think we want more office and maybe more light industrial, things that bring those targeted industries. But I don't
More hotels.
see why we're doing this still, and so.
But I want to be clear, it's not just retail that you have a subsidy for. You have subsidies on residential as well. So
I'm just saying, especially on the commercial retail. Well, yeah. Some of them, and I don't know if you can, how you divide them, separate them out.
So the only, during the mobility fee update, the only uses where we calculated for you what it would happen if we removed the subsidy were mini storage and multifamily. We have not even looked at removing that subsidy for any other use.
What about McDonald's and Burger King? Do they get?
There was no prior board direction to remove subsidies for any retail uses other than mini storage.
So McDonald's and fast food restaurants have a lot of trip generation, use a lot of, right? I mean, they use a lot.
I don't disagree with you, and I want to be clear, they do still pay a fairly high rate. I mean, their rate is substantially higher than most any other uses, but the reason there was some subsidy for retail built in was to keep us competitive with the surrounding jurisdictions. That was the reason why there's a subsidy on retail. I don't know if I'm gonna go back way back, but because that rate hasn't changed since 2011. I don't know if you remember when the board first adopted mobility fees, we had Wawa coming up here saying, you won't get any Wawas in Pasco County if you keep the rates the way they are.
Now there's one in every corner.
Okay, apparently the fee wasn't enough to discourage them because we've got plenty of Wawas.
Yeah.
We can look at revisiting the subsidy on retail, but I would need a majority of the board to tell us to do that, and we'd have to pay our consultant to go back into our fees and do that. We weren't anticipating doing that because we just finished our update.
I would even, if we needed to, subsidize the other stuff that we really want even more.
Well, you can't subsidize often
can't sub-
industrial
often, they don't
anymore
have
than you
anything.
do,
Well, true.
because they're zero.
Can't pay them. All right, so I'm here to say, I think we've accomplished what we wanted. I don't feel any reason to be discounting some of these businesses that we are. When I see, when our new money comes in and so much of it, boom, right off the top, where we could be putting it maybe other places where we have more uses for, I think we should kind of look at that a little bit.
So, again, I would need,
I'm just one commissioner.
I understand that, that's what I'm saying. This would cost money, and I'd have to get the committee back together to relook at this, and so we weren't envisioning doing that until the next update, which is 5 years from now. If you want us to do that now, we'd have to, I would need a majority of the board to direct us to retain our consultant to open that process back up again. Except for mini storage, because mini storage, we already calculated
We took their discount.
what removing their discount would be, so that we could easily do as part of this effort.
So, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
just to follow up with Commissioner Starkey, I think, why don't you get us a list of what she's speaking of, so as a board, we can look at it, maybe email it to everybody.
Yeah,
The
I would like
retail,
to-
the type of establishment she's talking about, so we can actually spend some time on it. So that's, I don't want us to get, steer away from what we're voting on right now, so. And I don't, not
We
disagree
can,
with
we can
Commissioner
send
Starkey.
you a link to the mobility fee table, and
Yeah,
And it shows in the
That'll-
table exactly how much subsidy every use
Yeah,
gets.
yeah.
that'd be great.
That'll be
That
good.
way we can review it before we talk about it further. I don't know if Commissioner Mariano has anything to say about this, but I want
I'm fine to go
to,
review
okay,
it.
so I'll make a
Okay.
motion to
Uh,
approve.
if I may, before you make a motion, Alexandra, is staff comfortable that they can perform this effort in 180 days? Because
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
I'd rather see them have a longer term now than have to amend the ordinance at the end of 180 days.
Sure, and we have a draft, it just needs to be calibrated to Pasco County, different conditions along the corridors, but we've kind of put a rough draft together, so we can comfortably say that we can do it within 180 days.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Okay, move for approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you
All
very
opposed, like
much.
sign. Motion passed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please allow me, before we do R3, there was a lady that raised her hand I did not see that I think wanted to speak. Come up to the podium. And this is a public comments.
I saw another person raise his hand.
Was there another person other than this one? Come up.
People
Line up.
online.
Okay, come on.
Good morning.
All right. State your name and address for the clerk.
Kai Rains, 408 Montrose Avenue, Tampa, Florida.
Can you spell that? That's,
Montrose? Montrose.
thank you.
I am coming to speak to you about an item that's later on the agenda. It's the termination of the agreement with USF for the facility in Pasco County. I am a professor at USF. I'm in geosciences. So I actually study plants, soils, water, not so much human corpses themselves. But I have been looking at the way that the environment changes around the corpses as they decompose, with the idea that these changes could be used to figure out how long a body that is found has, how long it's been since it died, or if that body has been moved. Okay? So I entered this sort of as an outsider because I'm more interested in the environment itself. I want to talk to you today about the fact that in the experience that I have had with the people who are currently in charge managing the facility, what I have seen is that it is very well managed. It is very respectfully managed, and respectful of the people who have donated themselves to the scientific research, and then also very thoughtfully managed. They're thinking about research for the future. And so I just want to kind of vouch for them that way. And I also want to point out the fact that it's really nice to have it in local management. The USF staff are out there almost every day. I myself have had 7 undergrads helping me with this project, either laboratory aspects or out in the field. 3 of them have now graduated and have used this experience to benefit our community. One of them used the experience he gained installing groundwater monitoring wells to get a job in water management here. One of them, I taught her how to survey, land surface, and she now works for a local consulting firm. And the other one got a lot of experience in laboratory work and successfully applied to a graduate program at USF. So all these people graduated from USF, got experience at this facility, and are benefiting our community. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Yes, sir. Please state your name and address for the clerk.
My name is Chris Turner, or Christopher Turner. My address is 5028 Anclote River Street. That's in Wesley Chapel, 33545. Thank you, the board, for extending me this opportunity to speak. And Honourable Moore, I appreciate we had several emails back and forward. I appreciate your responses. I just want to reiterate what we've just discussed. I feel that I'm a graduate student, a bit long in the tooth for a graduate student. I served 10 years in the United States Army as a American paratrooper, and so I find myself back in education. And being in the service, I know I've been around honour and respect and duty of service, and that's what I see when I'm dealing with the individuals who work with the facility. And I feel it's important that we do keep it within Pasco County and a university close by in Hillsborough. And my research will be greatly affected, but I mean, there's more than just me. There's universities out with not just the local area, but out with the state that are utilising this facility for research. And I know that the potential is that we'll be given 3 years to vacate to allow a handover, but my concern is damage to extending research such as the one that was just mentioned. And that's really all I've got. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. State your name and address for the clerk.
Melissa Pope. I live in Tampa, 3603 Devon Street. I am an investigator at the medical examiners in Hillsborough. I've worked for the medical examiners that services Pasco and Pinellas, and I've either worked for or with USF Anthropology for about 12 years. So I'm here to urge you to reconsider your stance on this termination. The program is still in its infancy, but it appears to be doing very well. I think this is clear based on doing a Google search of how much news has come out of there, as well as the sheer number of researchers, graduate students, undergrads, and law enforcement and medical legal agencies that have been involved in training and research. I believe it's been doing well because of the good leadership that has been in place so far. Dr. Kimberly has been working on this project for years. She has overseen everything from the infancy of the beginning of the planning up until today, and as previously mentioned, has a lot of plans for the future. Ultimately, this program is her intellectual property. She wrote the grant for this. I feel that the work it represents is hers, and she is the reason that it has been doing so well, her and her research team. I wanted to point out from the standpoint of someone who works at the medical examiners that this type of program services the larger community. And it does so because it services those who are impoverished, who may be estranged from family, and who may not be able to afford simple burial or cremation after death. So usually those individuals, which is going to run up to probably $1,000 per county per year, a simple cremation, no frills, is about $600. To add to that, the salaries and the salaries and the benefits of the county employees who have to locate next of kin and vet those programs, it can be very expensive for the community. This program offers a free alternative, and it gives the families a nice alternative that is meaningful to them. I just want to say, for us to run a program like that, we want to consider who's running it, right? We want someone who's ethical, transparent, and who is accountable. And if you look at Dr. Kimberly's track record, she is all those things. She's always been ethical, transparent. She's dedicated her career to human rights investigations. And at the end of the day, you're not going to find a black mark on her. We don't want to be one of those people in the news for missing body parts of homicide victims, right? We need to be transparent. We need consent. And that's what she offers. So,
Thank you for your comments.
thanks.
Name and address for the clerk.
Kirsten Verostic, 1641 Maximilian Drive, Wesley Chapel, 33543. My name is Kirsten Verostic, and I'm a PhD candidate at USF. So clearly, I have a vested interest in USF and the program we currently have with Pasco County Sheriff's Office in Pasco County. We've already heard from my colleagues and one of the professors that we've worked with numerous reasons why this land should stay with USF. I also just want to reintegrate all of the positive things that USF working with Pasco County brings to the county. And for instance, just this past year, we had a symposium that brought directors from similar facilities from all over the country together here that want to work with USF, with Dr. Kimberly, with our institution, because of the reputation that we have, because of all of the work that has gone into it. As Ms. Melissa Pope just stated, it's not just something that you thought of one day and then you just made happen. It took years of creation and thought and planning to put together this sort of program and this sort of research. When we think about all of the other things that it can bring to Pasco County, we have trainings and things planned, not just for local law enforcement, which really benefit the most from this sort of facility and program, but we're also bringing in people from across the country and internationally because of Dr. Kimberly's reputation and all of the work and research she has done in the world. We're talking on NATO level here. You know, there's a very wide array of things that we're contributing to, and the work that we're doing at this facility is contributing to, that we will lose. And by losing that, you know, partnership between USF and Pasco County, you don't have the access to those same things anymore. So we really want to think about this great boon for Pasco County, but also all of the good things that come out of this and how it benefits our community and the academic community. I really don't have anything else to say to that, but we really appreciate you taking the time to listen to us.
All right, thank you.
I asked Chase to come up.
Hmm?
I asked Chase to come up next.
Oh,
explain
yes,
what's going
that's
on.
fine. Chase.
Chase Daniels, Pasco Sheriff's Office. Thank you, Commissioner Starkey. Just to discuss this with the board, what we're dealing with here is very simply a land use issue. This is something that Pasco County Attorney's Office, our General Counsel, the USF Office of General Counsel, and Office of Government Relations have been dealing with us for about a year on this. As the board remembers, whenever this agreement was approved, it was 6 acres. USF is currently using approximately 3 acres. And we also have an additional forensics field that is coming online that this board has already approved as well. That will be in addition to this existing field. What this is quite simply just a land use agreement. So we have multiple partners out of this site. We have UF, FGCU, UCF, USF, FSU, and other universities that are still coming on board. USF was the only entity in that had their own exclusive land use agreement over 6 acres, and like I said, they're using approximately 3 acres of that. So we approached USF, their General Counsel's office, their Office of Government Affairs, with this desire to, if there were no intentions, as USF had stated, to use those other 3 acres to possibly return it, so we could use it for additional research, additional buildings, things like that out at our first training campus. So in discussions, it was decided by USF, Pasco County, the Pasco Sheriff's Office, that the best way to move forward was to terminate this agreement. We're still working with USF and their Office of General Counsel to bring them on under the existing agreements that we have with FGCU, UF, UCF, USF. Just to make it clear, the field is not going anywhere. Our intention is to keep both fields. Like I said, we have the one that's currently operating, and then we'll have another one coming online here shortly. But this is just mainly to take out that exclusivity return 3 acres back to the county for use, and then again, we welcome USF and IFAS to come back on board using the existing documents that we have with those other entities in their general counsel's office. USF's general counsel's office is working with us on that as we speak.
Good. I just wanted to make sure everyone understood we're not excluding anyone. We just want everyone to work together.
Yes, ma'am,
Yeah.
absolutely. And USF's general counsel's office and their Office of Government Affairs has been integral in this and been great to work with, and we appreciate their help in moving forward with this.
Okay. All right, thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else to speak? Seeing no one, we'll close the second public comment area. So then we'll go to R3.
Justin Ressler, Assistant Solid Waste Director. I'm here today to introduce an ordinance that amends the solid waste collection and disposal ordinance. This relates primarily to recycling collection service. So what this does is it builds on some of the recommendations that we provided at the workshop, and it really does 3 things. It moves to implement once per week recycling. It gives the haulers a 90-day compliance period to begin that process. It requires the haulers to provide a cart if a resident requests it, and removes glass from the list of recyclables that we would currently accept.
Okay. Privilege of the board.
I can't wait for once-a-week recycling. I think that'll make everyone's life a lot easier, so.
Motion?
I will move to approve.
Thank you.
I'll move to approve, but I'd like to see more discussion for this whole process.
Go ahead.
Was that a second?
Yeah, he seconded it, so we're under discussion.
Confusing me.
And then we'll have discussion, okay.
I just sent him a call.
All right.
Mr. Brown, you're got.
Yeah, I mean, there was a thing about the surveys as far as what people thought between both. I mean, I thought we'd be doing a full presentation on this.
So we'll bring this back in 2 weeks for the public hearing. We'll do a presentation.
Yeah, it's just the introduction.
Okay.
So you don't need a motion?
I need a motion to
Yeah,
introduce the
it
ordinance.
needs a motion.
Well, then, you got a motion and a second.
All right, so we got a second, just a little further discussion. When it comes back, and I asked Mr. Carbell about this, make sure you do a full comparison for what other counties have, full services all the way through, whether they're taking landscaping, whether they take hard goods, whatever, so we can compare what others are charging in the area compared to what we're looking to charge. And I think there's one slide on there that had Mr. and Mr. Dade I talked about too.
Absolutely.
Thank you. All right, no other discussion? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion passed. Thank you. Let's see. What time is it? Ralph, are you ready? We're early for you. You're R5?
R4.
R5, well,
R4.
it's time
R4.
certain.
You want to go back to go skip
I've
over
got
and do
time
R5?
certain, and at 10:45 is supposed
Whatever
to be
your pleasure
R5.
is.
We can, why don't we do
We can do his,
the
and then,
federal piece, and then we can break when we're ready to do the VTC to the EOC, the R5 item, and then come back and finish. Because we can probably get through part of it in 10 minutes, right? We got
Yeah,
about 10
yeah,
minutes.
well,
So.
less than that, yeah. You want to do the federal piece first?
Sure. Yeah, why don't you introduce Harry? and then
Okay, I'm
we'll-
going to call up Harry Glenn from Vance Court that's going to give us an update on, or actually bring to you our federal legislative agenda for the coming year.
okay?
Thank you, Commissioners. I wanted to hear what Ralph had to say, so I thought I'd go after Ralph. So. And thank you for letting me be here again today. It's great to be back in the historic courthouse. We've done this once before here. It's a beautiful building. I was going to say that Ralph was going to talk to you about the state session and how the state session is already wrapped up. On the federal side, the federal Congress is just getting started in this new Congress. And so while you have Ralph's report coming up on all that's been done, I'm here to talk to you about all the things that hopefully will get done in this new Congress. First of all, I want to say that we had great representation from Pasco County earlier this year. You had 3 of your commissioners came up to the annual NACO conference, National Association of Counties, and did a really fine job representing the county before NACO, but also we did a series of meetings on the House side, the Senate side, and with several federal agencies. So I want to thank the commissioners for coming up. It was a good time to have you up there. I want to talk about Congress. As you may have read, We're in the midst of a big budget debate right now that's starting in the Congress. The House and Senate are just starting their annual budget appropriations process. Lots of decisions yet to be made. Unfortunately, one decision that was made about 3 weeks ago was that Congress is not going to reinstate the federal congressional earmark process. And we were hopeful at the beginning of this new Congress with the new House leadership, there was some strong signals that the House and Senate would bring back the congressional earmark process. That would be helpful to counties like yours with projects that you have on the books. But unfortunately, they decided to defer that until next year. And so we continue to work under a process where Congress will fund programs and we'll need to continue to try and competitively compete for federal grants. So that was
Harry,
one
can I ask you a
guidance
question on that?
Yes.
Yes.
So doesn't that make our relationships with the agencies even more important?
It does. It does.
So we really need to be going up there and meeting with labor or FEMA or whoever it is.
Transportation.
Transportation, yes.
It does, yes. And to that regard, it also makes it imperative that as the county makes decisions about applying for federal grants, it makes it important that you have support from your congressional delegation, because oftentimes decisions are made on merits, but sometimes the tiebreaker is congressional and political support and community support too. And we're going to talk about that in a second for one grant program you have coming up. I want to talk about probably the major item that this Congress is looking at, and you saw a flurry of activity last week with the congressional leadership going down to the White House to talk to the President about infrastructure. The last Congress, there was a big push on a federal infrastructure initiative. Didn't move in the previous Congress, but this Congress has made it a high priority item. So the administration has talked about a $2 trillion 10-year infrastructure program. The big catch, as Commissioners, you understand, is how to pay for it. That's what we're trying to figure out right now. And what will be included in an infrastructure package. Obviously, roads, bridges, that type of infrastructure is probably a given, but they're talking about expanding it to include water infrastructure, which is important to Pasco County, talking about broadband initiatives, talking about schools, talking about hospitals. So there's a whole variety of potential infrastructure investment opportunities coming down the pike. Again, the key will be determined if there's a way to pay for it. And that's those discussions are going on now. The congressional leadership is going back down to the White House in 2 weeks and having another conversation with the President. The new chairman of the Transportation Committee in the House has indicated an interest in trying to move a bill before 4th of July on the House side. Peter DeFazio from Oregon. He's talked about trying to get a bill before the House to at least start the conversation. We'll continue to monitor that. And let you know about that. Along that way, one opportunity that is presented itself is the annual, what used to be called the Tiger Grant Program, is now called the Build Program, is an opportunity for the county to apply for competitively awarded federal transportation funding. There's $900 million available for this program. You have tried in the past, submitted a previous application for the interchange project. We're not successful the last time. And your county staff has done a great job at being debriefed by the Department of Transportation to understand where they can improve their application. There's now a call for proposals. Proposals are due by July 15th. The one thing that has really changed significantly is in the last state legislative session in last year, you received $15 million of state funding to support the project. You have county funding available. And I think that makes a very compelling case for the federal government that you have skin in the game now on this project. Your funding is lined up, and with the federal partnership, you have a project that's ready to go. And so last year we had great support from the congressional delegation, the House members, the Senate members, including Dan Webster and Gus Bilirakis, two important members on the Republican side, which weigh heavily with the administration. So we will begin that process to generate congressional support for the build application as your staff puts it together. A second item that I want to talk about, and we've talked about this every time I've been here, is the National Flood Insurance Program. As you know, it's important to the county, it's important to the state of Florida. The National Flood Insurance Program is currently operating under a temporary authorization that expires at the end of this month. We've operated under 10 previous temporary extensions, and so a long-term authorization it's clearly not going to happen before the end of this month, so Congress is going to have to figure out a way to extend the program for at least several months to keep the program operating. If the program should lapse, it would be a problem for new home sales in the county. that require flood insurance, because if the program lapses, the National Flood Insurance Program can't write new policies, which could have a chilling effect on the real estate market. So we will continue to monitor that for you. There's also a new initiative that the administration rolled out in March called Risk Rating 2.0, which is a new pricing plan that they're looking at trying to roll out next year to change the rates that flood insurance policyholders carry. In some cases, it will actually lower policyholder rates. In some cases, it will raise rates. It just depends on which flood zone that you are in. We'll get you more information about that. The administration's announcement in March was really only 3 paragraphs long, so there's a lot of information to be had. There's a big meeting next week in Washington with the National Floodplain Managers Association. They're going to meet with the administration to try and get more details, and we'll make sure that we provide Ralph with a memo on that and how it will impact the county. But we're hopeful that there will be some temporary extension here before the end of the month to keep the flood insurance program running without disrupting your policyholders. Third item that we've talked about with you before is an issue called the Waters of the U.S. It was a regulatory initiative under President Obama's administration to change the classification for federal waterways and what would be covered by federal water guidance. It would have a big impact on Pasco County, given the amount of water that you have. Under the previous administration regulations, it would have applied to new waterways that weren't previously included in the Clean Water Act, such as ditches along roadways, ponds, and other waterways that weren't connected to the bays or the Gulf. And so various court cases were brought. Florida was a member of a class action suit that stayed the previous rules. The new administration came in last year, 2 years ago, and decided to roll back the Waters of the USA regulations and start over again. So the Department of the Energy and the EPA and the Corps of Engineers are now in the process of collecting public comment on new regulations for the waters of the U.S., and we'll start working on regulations that they hope to have out sometime in July. Again, we'll continue to stay in touch with your staff about that. Commissioner Starkey, when she was up in Washington, we had a series of meetings with the Department of Labor about apprenticeship programs. She's done a great job at trying to convince the Department of Labor to broaden the class of programs that are available or eligible for federal funding for apprenticeship programs, and we're making some headway there, and we'll continue to work on that. There's potentially a piece of legislation that may work its way through Congress this year on workforce training programs that could help us in that effort, and we'll continue to work with you on that. One of the issues we talked about with the commissioners when they were up in March was a new program that was created by the 2017 Tax Act called Opportunity Zones. Pasco County has 17 federally designated opportunity zones that are now available for investment. It provides tax incentives, tax breaks for investment funds that invest in properties within these enterprise zones to create economic opportunity. The administration has been rolling out about every 3 months new regulations to talk about how to implement these. We've been forwarding those on to your county staff to make sure that your economic development folks understand the new regulations and see if they have any comments on those. It's been a program that's a little bit slow in starting. Investors aren't quite sure what to make of it, but it's a program that may pick up steam here in the next couple of months, and so we will continue to work with your county staff to make sure they're aware of what's happening on the Opportunity Zone front. One other item from the last Congress, actually the last 2 Congresses, passed major opioid addiction legislation to create a series of new programs to help drug treatment facilities, law enforcement, first responders, court systems with the tremendous problem of opioid addiction. These programs were created in the last Congress on a bipartisan basis. Now they're starting to be funded in this new Congress. We will continue to look for funding opportunities for the county in a variety of areas that might be helpful to you all on the drug treatment front. There's great support in the Congress for trying to make sure that robust funding is provided to help out in all aspects of that problem. And on the last 2 issues, one I have on your agenda here is Federal Emergency Management Agency and Disaster Assistance. Ralph and I had a conversation the other day about the slow pace that FEMA is reimbursing not just Pasco County, but counties throughout the country and the state for previous storms. I understand from Ralph that you're still waiting for reimbursement for Hermine, and obviously still waiting for reimbursement from Hurricane Irma, and we see what's happening in the Panhandle with Hurricane Michael. This Congress is really invested in trying to find a way to streamline the process between the federal government and the state and the communities to make sure that the flow of funding is speeded up so that you aren't burdened as a county with responding to storms. So there's some new legislation that's being proposed to try and expedite that process, to allow counties and communities to have more authority to make decisions without having to wait for state approval or federal approval, and we'll continue to work with you to make sure you know what those are. That is a big problem, and unfortunately some communities have, including the Panhandle area, have had to borrow funds to pay for some of their expenses, and Congress is not happy about that, so they'll be working on that. And in that regard, going back to the infrastructure bill, there's a strong opportunity here to provide additional federal support for resiliency programs and for mitigation programs. So Congress is looking at increasing its investment in those areas so that they can help support, boost your communities, make them more resilient to future storms, future flooding events, future weather events. And we'll continue to work with you on those as those programs roll out. We'll make sure that your staff knows about funding opportunities. Finally, the last agenda item on your federal agenda is a new one this year. It relates to 5G mobile network towers and 5G service. As you know, this is the next generation of cellular service and communication. I know the state legislature last year passed a bill to require kind of a streamlining, as I understand it, of small cell tower deployment in communities. And what the Federal Communications Commission did last year was passed an ordinance, basically a federal ordinance, that kind of sidesteps the authority of local governments to make decisions on the placement of small cell phone towers. There's currently a lawsuit out in California to try and overturn that decision by the FCC, and there's legislation been introduced into Congress now to do the same thing, to turn back that decision. We haven't really had a chance to talk about with your staff at great length about this. I know the National Association of Counties has weighed in and supported the legislation, and so I look forward to working with your staff to find out what information we can provide them about this rollout of the 5Gs and the small cell phone towers. So that's pretty much a summary. I think you have the whole packet. There's a summary of your proposals here, and then there's also a more detailed explanation of each of the agenda items. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Ms. Starkey?
What do you know about CDBG and low-income housing and dollars coming out? I mean, so I think that's something we need to pay attention to.
Sure. So the appropriations process just started. In fact, the Appropriations Committee has its first full committee meeting in the House tomorrow. They have not gotten around to working on the bill that funds the Department of Housing and Urban Development, which is where CDBG and the low-income housing programs are funded. The allocations that the committee has are pretty good this year, so they have about 5% more in federal funding to spend this year than they did last year, so there's a good likelihood that those programs will continue to be funded and increased. The administration has requested reductions in those programs over the last 3 years, and so Congress has always overturned those decisions, those recommendations, and provided increased funding, so I don't have any reason to believe that they won't do a good job. The one thing I will say about that, though, is Congress is still in this 10-year period under what they call the Budget Control Act, and what that Budget Control Act does is sets certain limits on federal spending. If Congress exceeds those limits, there's what they call a sequestration goes into effect, which is an automatic across-the-board cutting of defense and non-defense programs. Every 2 years, Congress has passed the legislation to suspend that sequestration. That 2-year window runs out on September 30th of this year, and without a new agreement between Congress and the President, there's a very real possibility that the sequestration could go into effect. So whatever Congress appropriates would likely be reduced by as much as 10% across the board. So that's something we'll keep in mind, because while Congress may support the programs, the automatic cuts could create a problem for you.
Well, thanks, Harry, and I would say that we definitely need to go in for another build grant again. I know they're hard to get, but I think, as you said, we have a compelling story. We have matching money. And I think we need to schedule a trip, again, to meet the agencies and the key people. I recall a meeting we had with the Senate Transportation Committee and others that I think it's important to build those relationships. And watching my fellow commissioners from around the country be successful, they tell me it's because of the relationships that they have made. So I think that's incumbent upon us to take the time to go build those relationships. So
And we have a new senator this year who's a former governor that was responsible for providing the state funding for this, so I think that'll help in the conversation too.
Oh,
So-
okay.
Mr. Mariano?
Harry, as far as Mr. Stark talking about CDBG, and I think it's a great topic for us, is there something, were they looking for projects as far as, or just like, are they just going to put out base funding? Because if we got like one project that's working on, where we're trying to take this old trailer home park, you might say, that's all dilapidated. We've invested our own money to buy up 51 properties, and now work with Habitat for Humanity. And we're trying to like now direct some CDG funds. I think it's probably something that could actually work for affordable housing around the nation, and we could be like a model program. Is that the type of way to actually go to those that hand out these funds for CDBG at this point?
So I would say three things about that. The regular CDBG program is formula driven. The money goes to the counties based on a formula. So, and then you all can determine how you want to spend your county allocation for that. So there's that pot.
Right.
There are some affordable housing programs that we can get information to your staff about that may be applicable to what you're trying to do. If we learn more about the project, we can take a look at that. But the one area I think that you might want to look at is, as you know, every time there's a state emergency declared for a disaster like Hurricane, or like Hermine or Irma or Michael, the state becomes eligible for disaster CDBG, they call it DR funding, which is disaster relief funding. It's money that comes down to the state and is made available to communities to help provide more resiliency for your community. So I presume if this is a park like that, there might be some opportunity to redevelop that and make it into something that's more resilient. There's also funding that's made available whenever there's an emergency declaration through the Economic Development Administration. There's emergency funding set aside for impacted states. And there's $300 million available so far to the state of Florida based on Hurricane Hermine. There will be more money coming with Hurricane Michael. That's another pot of funding that we can talk to your staff about potentially applying for this. The great thing about those emergency funds is the federal match is actually higher. Usually it's a 50-50 local federal match. These are as high as 80% federal and 20% local, so it could be a significant funding opportunity too, and we'll get you more information about that.
So maybe we'll get together with Mike Sutton, Kathy Pearson, and see what might work for that.
Sure.
Well, we're using some of that money, and I don't remember the name of it, but we are using some of that CDBG disaster money over in Elfers Parkway. We think we got $3 million. And I do want to schedule an update on that from staff. And so we have mobile homes that were repeatedly flooded in Elfers Parkway. And actually, it's 100% it's 100% buyout plus moving costs. So I think we have 12 or 13 homes going through that, and we're hoping that we'll get more. But I'd be all for continuing that discussion. Our partners, Habitat for Humanity in that area, and frankly, I think we should extend Secretary Carson and invite to come down and look at the project. And I met him at that last trip we had. Because right now, Habitat is not eligible. We're not eligible, right, for some of that money?
Depending on how quick we can build.
There's a glitch. Yeah, there's a glitch that we're not eligible right now. We want to fix that. Because why would you not want Habitat to be able to build a lot of homes?
We'll look at that. And there will be more money coming down for disaster with the Hurricane Michael. There's a supplemental appropriations bill that's pending before Congress now, and hopefully that will be resolved before Memorial Day. So that would be another tranche of funding that might be available too.
I'm not sure if that area flooded, although we do have to elevate there.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we'd love to get you more information on that project and show it to you.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
One quick question, maybe you can help out with this. What is the holdup with Michael? Because if you noticed during our budget, the legislators obviously just, adjourned on Saturday, and the state had to put, I don't remember what the total amount was. Maybe Ralph, what was the total amount that was pushed to the Panhandle?
$2 billion and then additional project.
Right. So I think back to Katrina and other hurricanes. The federal government jumped right in, FEMA jumped right in, and some of those hurricanes, there was just a total waste of dollars. For example, trucks sitting out there for years on end, housing empty. What's their problem with getting their act together to help people in Florida right now. I mean,
So the-
it's very frustrating, because what's happening, we know those people need the help, right? But at the same time, look how much of our budget had to be diverted to the Panhandle for the lack of, what's the word I'm looking for? Response.
Aid.
Or just getting their freaking acts together up there to do what's right, and to do what they've done for every hurricane in the past. Look what they did in Puerto Rico, how much money they put down there. What, they can't take care of the Panhandle?
You're saying the same things that the Florida congressional delegation is saying,
I
including
know.
Senator Rubio and Senator Scott.
I'm very
And
familiar
you
with
mentioned
that.
Puerto Rico. I mean, frankly, that's the holdup right now, is that the House leadership wants to include more funding in the supplemental appropriations bill that would include the Hurricane Michael for Puerto Rico, for the previous storms there. The administration has opposed that and said they would veto the bill if it included extra money for Puerto Rico. And so they're trying to negotiate some type of an agreement where they can provide some more money from Puerto Rico, but not as much as the House leadership wants. The holdup, frankly, is not Florida. They all agree on what they need for Florida. The issue is...
I know the holdup's not Florida.
Yeah, and there's the Midwest. There were wildfires. The Midwest, Georgia has been impacted by storms. So it's a national. There's great support nationally for this. It's just the administration and the House leadership are stuck over the issue of.
So the current House leadership is what you're saying is holding this money up.
That's correct. And
Yeah.
frankly, in the Senate leadership, you need in the Senate, even though the Republicans have a majority, you still need 60 votes to do anything. And the Democrat leadership in the Senate too is supporting additional funding for Puerto Rico.
So they're holding up our money here for our citizens in
They are,
Florida.
yes.
The Democratic
But there's hope this
leadership
week.
in
There's a new bill.
DC.
There's a new bill to be introduced, I think, today or tomorrow that will hopefully maybe break the logjam. And again, their hope is to get something done before Memorial Day.
So these people are sitting there homeless over for a year later because they can't get their acts together.
And we have a military base that can't be reconstructed that's on hold right now too. So.
Sad. Look how much of our, again, look how much
write
of
a
our
letter.
budget, look how much of our budget, state budget had to go to offset the cost of what these people pay their taxes for on a yearly basis, and unbelievable.
But may I ask a question? Will the money that we're putting out in the state for help to the Panhandle be reimbursable to the federal government?
I
think that's a question for the
Yeah,
state.
I'd say the answer is, well, I'd say maybe. It depends on what they're going to use the funding for. If it's a reimbursement for, if the federal government's going to reimburse the community for that money, then maybe they could reimburse the state. I don't know the answer to that.
Well, that'd be interesting to find out.
Yeah.
Maybe Ralph can find that out.
Yeah.
Because then that money eventually comes back to be spread amongst the counties again, maybe.
Maybe
Okay. Any other questions?
holding people
No, but you got a
hostage up
time
there.
certain, so.
You need to approve the federal agenda, if that's okay.
Oh,
So moved.
You with?
Second.
Got a motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed, like sign. Motion passed. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Jack.
Yes, sir.
And
Mr. Chair, if you don't mind, we'd set up a time certain
R3,
briefing from
certain
from the EOC. We're right in the middle of the state hurricane exercise, and so we
Right.
figured, since we're in a board meeting, it's an opportunity for them to kind of brief you like they would during a normal hurricane, and what's going on, and so we will, maybe a couple seconds to get the tech set up, but we will be,
The R5.
oh, there we go. There's
There it
the,
is.
Oh,
there's the EOC, and there is Chief Andy Fossa. So,
So today's forecast, Hurricane Smith is currently a Category 2 storm with winds at 110 miles an hour. It's expected to strengthen to a Category 3 storm before landfall. The eye of the hurricane is located about 68 miles from Newport Richey. Current forecast shows anticipated making landfall near St. John's Pass about 1,400 hours today. Hurricane force winds of 74 plus miles an hour is expected countywide. The eye of the storm is expected to move along the Little Road corridor. It's basically the eye of the storm is going to cover pretty much Wilson County. Sustained winds of 115 miles an hour is expected to occur between Little Road and I-75. The risk of flooding and rainfall is 8 to 13 inches and up to 15 inches in some areas with isolated storms. The storm surge is predicted in excess of 10 feet AGL, west of US 19 and alternate 19. And we've had GIS map it out, and it actually, some areas runs up almost to Little Road. Tropical storm force winds are to subside by 0400 hours tomorrow morning on the 8th. Pasco's risk and warning. Hurricane warning remains in effect. Flood warnings are now in effect until 0100 hours Wednesday, May 8th, for the following river areas: Antelope River at Elfers, Cypress Creek at Worthington Gardens, Wickliffe River at Trilby. We have a tornado watch that remains in effect. So this is the most likely when the hurricane winds will arrive, about 1,300 hours today. We have moved the people around, we've got sheltering in place, we've got some evacuation going on also. So the storm surge is going to be one of our biggest concerns. And it's going to do almost, I don't know if you guys remember the no-name storm, but it's going to be something like that, plus a little worse. Current situation, we have 300,000 people evacuated, evacuation zones A and B. We also have the two major hospitals, Bayonet Point and North Bay, has been evacuated, and all the skilled nursing facilities and ALFs that are in that area. We are running into a significant traffic problem from Hillsborough and Fernando, and also Pinellas. They are pushing forward into our county, and as this storm approaches, these citizens are going to become trapped within Pasco County. So we need to start considering the big picture of what's going to happen when this storm passes and we have all these folks within our county. The county is currently on lockdown due to sustained tropical winds of 39 miles an hour or higher. Currently, we're getting winds up to about 50 miles an hour. The objectives for the EOC today, continue evacuation if we can. Shelters, we're currently open shelters and manning them, planning food and sheltering needs. Points of distribution. We're trying to locate where we're going to put our points of distribution after the storm passes. Volunteer reception center. As you know, with all storms, we get a very big influx of volunteers that want to donate items and volunteer with assist. We're going to open a volunteer reception center, put it in a location centralized so we can utilize those assets from there. County staging areas, we have identified those. There are multiple around the county. With our manpower equipment. Flooding in the inflow area. That's probably going to be one of the biggest impacted areas for that storm when it comes in. As we know, the river running through there is going to back up substantially. We're also going to start working on a new track contingency plan for recovery. And basically that means what are we going to do after this storm passes, and how are we going to fix things to get the citizens up to normal speed again. Do I have any questions?
Yes, ma'am.
Say this is an exercise, this is an exercise.
Yeah, Andy, I think you have a question from here.
You have a question?
Did we have a VRC before? And where was it or where is it?
We never really had a true VRC before. It was mainly run out of the EOC when we started wanting to do volunteers. And I would have to address that to Andrew Banks, the VRC expert.
In our planning scenario so far today, we're looking at a VRC somewhere in the 54-56 split, possibly in the outlet mall. And we're looking into what sites might not be, or what sites in that building might be available to us. So our facilities unit leader is looking into that right now. But that's the pinpoint location that we're looking for at this point.
Is that similar to is that different than what we did at the Super Target site?
Yes, ma'am.
That was more of a distribution location?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Just lost them. They're back.
We don't have to use it.
Any other questions?
Nope.
Okay.
All right,
We're
thanks,
good
Andy.
here. Thank you.
Thanks, team.
And maybe you guys can stop by and we're continuing the exercise tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So just to wrap up that, the exercise this year really focuses on the recovery piece. So after the storm passes, and so while they're exercising the events during the storm today, it's really the next few days where we're exercising through the recovery plan, which is really, if we look at Michael and what's happened, that's really where, that's a long-term plan. That's not something that happens in 24, 48 hours. You have to build your plans because that's, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 120 days. So that's really what we're exercising here. And you can tell there's somebody at the state that thinks Pasco does a good job, and so they wanted to run it through Pasco so the other EOCs in the state could follow us and see what we're doing and help build and train their people throughout the state. So
Yep.
that's all I have, sir.
Okay. Now we'll, Ralph, you have a report for us? I thought you had one.
I thought so too. For the record, Ralph Lair, Intergovernmental Affairs Officer. I want to first thank Andy Fossa for not naming the hurricane exercise after me.
Welcome back to Pasco County, by the way.
Thank you. Okay, so the Florida lawmakers finished the 2019 legislative session Saturday, one day over the 60-day session requirement, by passing a $91.1 billion budget for the upcoming year. Let me take this opportunity to thank our Pasco County legislative delegation, Senator Wilton Simpson, Senator Ed Hooper, Senator Tom Lee, Representative Amber Mariano, Representative Artie Nzika for all their efforts and hard work on behalf of the residents of Pasco County. In total, the 2019 regular session included 3,571 bills and proposed committee bills filed, 2,997 amendments filed, 3,765 votes taken, 40 floor sessions, and only 196 bills passed, both chambers. In the $91.1 billion budget, which was Senate Bill 2500, the appropriations bill, Pasco County received two projects, the Land O'Lakes 41 Landscape Rehabilitation Project, $1 million. We originally asked for $1.5 million, so we're very pleased with the outcome on that. Miller's Bayou Waterfront Enhancement. We requested $3 million, and we received $1 million. In addition to Pasco County, the other local government that had a return was the city of Dade City. Dade City received $5 million for Morningside Drive extension. If you remember, they also received this last time, and it was vetoed by the governor. So we're hoping this year that they get that through, and the county will be working with Dade City on that project. They also received $150,000 for the Howard Water stormwater pump station. So in addition to that, we do receive, the county received, for some of our nonprofits and some of our various organizations that assist our residents in Pasco County, did receive funding as well. I won't go through that. I did email you that project yesterday, all the session wrap, and I did again this morning as well, because I inadvertently left off a bill on that. So I want to jump to some of the legislation that impacts the county. So again, these are highlights of legislation impacting local government and home rule. Growth Management Bill passed, House Bill 7103, was approved during the last hours of session. Those last couple of days, bills go back and forth between chamber, and they're amended and re-amended and sent back and forth between the House and the Senate. The final product that came out Friday night will make it harder to challenge a developer's plan for a new neighborhood or changes in any local comprehensive plan. For one thing, anyone who challenges a plan amendment and loses has to pay the prevailing party the attorney's fees. And also, local governments cannot require affordable housing in new developments. Additionally, vegetable gardens passed. This is a victory for the gardeners. It cripples the ability for local governments to tell people where they can plant a garden in their yard. The bill places personal property rights over the authority of counties and cities to dictate where people can grow vegetables in their yard, and any existing ordinance, as we have, restricting any vegetable gardens is void and unenforceable under the law.
Mr. Chairman, quick question.
Yes.
What about like CDDs and HOAs?
No, they would be overrule the state law, so you're good there. Yeah.
Okay, just curious because that's where it would come into play.
That's exactly right. So yeah, they if they have a rule, then that prevails over the state law.
Interesting. Okay. That prevails over the state law. Okay.
Okay, moving on. So another bill that passed.
Wait, I think we're confused. It does or doesn't prevail?
It does prevail.
It prevails over the state law?
Over the state law, so yeah.
Gotcha.
So
the county ordinance doesn't prevail over it, but local
deed restriction.
Deed restriction, yeah.
do prevail over it.
Yeah.
Right. Gotcha.
Oh, wait, so
Okay.
deed restrictions trump the state?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay, but county ordinance does
It's
not.
about the only time you want to be in a deed restricted community.
Guess it matters what you want. If you want. Yeah.
Okay, so jumping on from that, another bill that but going back to the vegetable garden, what we also can do there, local governments may adopt a local ordinance of regulation of general nature that deals with water use during droughts, fertilizer use, or control of invasive plants and species. Another bill, tree trimming and private property rights bill. Legislation provides that a local government may not require an application approval, permit fee, or mitigation for the pruning, trimming, or removal of a tree on residential property if the property obtains documentation from certified arborists or licensed landscape architects that the tree is a danger to person or property. The bill prohibits local governments from requiring replanting of trees removed or trimmed per the section and specifies that it does not apply to local governments with delegated mangrove protection authority. Additionally, the bill requires each county property appraiser to post on its website a property owner bill of rights, the contents of which are provided in the bill. The legislature also approved a 5-year moratorium on counties and cities from passing ordinances prohibiting plastic straws, while the state studies the ordinances already approved by 10 cities that have already done so. And finally, yesterday, the Senate released its calendar for important dates for the 2020 legislative session. January 14th, 2020 is when the session begins, and it will conclude on March 13th, 2020. They have not released the proposed dates for committee weeks, but it's expected to begin September of 2019. At that point, if there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer as best.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Moore?
No. So Ralph, thank you for all your efforts. We really appreciate everything you do on a year-round basis, but especially having to spend days on and hours, late nights while you're up there in Tallahassee. So thanks again for everything you did. And obviously thanks to all our legislators for all their hard efforts. I do personally want to once again, thank obviously Senator Tom Lee and Representative Zika for getting the $1 million for the Land O'Lakes redevelopment. As Ralph knows, I was on the phone with him quite often during session, and it was nice to see Senator Lee push it through the Senate bill, and Arnie was able to work hard in the House and work with leadership to get that through. So we'll keep our fingers crossed, as we always do, that it will make it off obviously the governor's desk. But thrilled about that because it's very much needed to help that redevelopment. And our focus is on that Land O'Lakes Boulevard between 41 and 52, where our focus is with those dollars. So I'm thrilled about that, and we'll hopefully be able to move forward quickly with that, and that money comes in. I do have a question, one thing, and it's good to see that money come through for Miller's Bayou, that $1 million. I can't remember during the MPO meetings, do we have an estimated cost for that project yet? A total estimated cost, does anybody know?
It's still being priced out.
It is being priced out. So as we continue these conversations, I would highly recommend that we have the conversations at county administration with the city managers of Port Richey, New Port Richey, to utilize their CRA dollars that they'll be getting from us this year if they want to move forward with this. That would be, seems like it's good use for that area for the redevelopment. They will be getting, obviously, a plethora of funds once again this year, and that would be put to good use, in my opinion. $1 million, they each are getting, you know.
Wait,
oh,
we
one is-
control that million, right? Not them?
So,
But
so right now
there
we
has
have
to be
a-
more money
we have a-
put towards that project.
we have a tri-party agreement that says we'll split the cost a third, a third, a third. So, I mean, I'm assuming that
Of the study.
agreement. That's for the design, I'm assuming that agreement would move forward into construction, that we'd split it a third, a third, a third.
Well, so again, I would bring it up to them to use their CRA dollars that they receive from us for that project. So combined between the two, it's about $2 million this year. And that could get them over the hump, I would assume, at least close to it. Well, $1 million plus 2, look pretty good.
Question, follow-up. So that $1 million was the county's $1 million. It's not appropriation from the city of Port Richey or from the city of Newport Richey. So does this $1 million come off the top and then we split one-third, one-third, one-third? What's left? Is this the county's one-third? Whose money is this as part of the project?
It's counties.
So it's coming to the county.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that those two jurisdictions will bring that up to you at the next MPO meeting, since this was initially an MPO discussed project.
So we were able to,
So-
thanks to Representative Mariano and Hooper, their side, we're able to bring that to the county. There's the county's large portion of it. And then, again, between their CRA dollars,
What
they
he
should be able to
said.
cover it. There it is. Done.
We would
Let me see,
support
now let me
Newport
see the
Richey
cost
We
estimate
will
first,
support them
yeah.
using their CRA dollars for this project.
And if they want to ask for more appropriation next year, we would support that, if they want to ask for appropriation,
Understand.
right?
I'll just,
Did city ask for appropriation?
I'm 100% with you.
Mr. Chairman, if you will, I'll just, also tell you that the cities, especially City of Newport Richey, is looking at a possible grant through the state, through the Stan Mayfield Environmental, it's a pot of money that they're looking and seeing if that's a possibility. I know the lobbyists for the city sat down with Senator Mayfield during session to discuss the possibility about seeking funds for their portion, if you will. So they are looking at that as an avenue for their funds.
And I will help.
Okay.
You just got to find somebody in Port Richey that's going to have the power to allocate the funds. That might take a while.
They got to be able to vote on that.
That might take a while.
We're being bad.
We're trying to get them together. Is that everything, Ralph?
Look at Ralph.
Any other questions for Ralph?
Oh, Ralph.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much for staying on top of the apprenticeship bill, and Harry, for Harry's edification and maybe the rest of my commissioners, since they weren't as involved in it as I was, can you mention what went through, which I think will be very good for AmSkills, hopefully.
So yes, that bill did pass. That was one that Representative Amber Mariano was working on. So now what this bill will do is create education workforce for our state. So our K through 12 and also our college has to look at another way of educating our students to prepare them for the workforce, if you will. And it also creates a funding source that nonprofits could go directly to the state for funds such as AmSkills as a possibility rather than going through the school district or through the college system. Again, this is a way of saying not every student is cut out for the traditional college track. That there are great careers available in manufacturing, plumbing, construction, with apprenticeship programs as a way to get them in those jobs. So that's really the whole impetus behind that bill.
Yeah, so lots of times money comes down from Washington. It'll come down, to the Department of Labor, who's under the Department of Education now. And then they disperse it, but it's gone to community colleges and, traditional schools, and a registered training program like ours was not eligible to apply and be competitive for the grants. And many times, these colleges have to use a registered apprenticeship program to be eligible for the grants, And so they've used AmSkills many times, but never given us any money. So it's been a real frustration, and I'm just very glad that they had the wisdom, and thank Representative Mariano for helping. She was the introducer of a House bill, and it all kind of morphed, but that, hey, just let us compete on these grant applications, and so now we will be able to, and so we're very thankful.
Right.
And Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Yeah, I know Representative Mariano was very delighted to get that bill through, and
Yeah.
it was just, I think it was unanimous across the board.
That's correct.
I mean, it's amazing to get that done.
Very good.
Another one she was thrilled was with the extra credit hours. I mean, she had approved her first term in, got that through, but it was a temporary thing and had to be finalized. And for the first time now, it's actually finalized. So instead of these engineering students that may change majors paying double tuition, now it's like funded out much better for them. So,
I don't know that part.
Yeah.
yeah. Good stuff.
Good. Ralph, thank you for everything you've
Welcome
done
home.
for us, man. Appreciate it. Okay. That ends the regular items. At this time, we'll go to old business.
Just,
Mr. Moore?
yeah. So we're talking about transportation money. So Morningside got the 5 million, which I think is obviously really good for obviously the county as a whole because of the public safety aspect of it. Easier access, obviously, for the ambulances getting it in and out. So that was definitely a positive for especially that portion of the county. I think we'd all agree, right?
Solve some other problems also, as flooding and some other issues.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
I think, but think about the big picture,
Yeah.
right? That's the main idea. So I really don't have too much. Happy Nurses Week to the nurses out there. We have any nurses in the audience? It's Nurses Week. So my wife's one. One item that I think is pretty awesome is that we know that the USA Disabled Hockey tournament was, what, 2-3 weeks ago, I think it was, and that's been 3 weeks ago now. And we talked about the guesstimates was about 1,200 room nights. Well, they definitely surpassed that. It was 2,000 room nights in Pasco County hotels. So that's huge. And that actually set the record of any event in the history of Pasco County when it came to room nights. That event set the record. So congratulations, obviously, to the tourism team, Adam and your team, excellent job. Obviously, Advent Health Center ICE, along with our local hoteliers that participated in the program, because again, 2,000 room nights for a tournament is pretty incredible. So I know we'll see more of that in the near future. I see Adam nodding his head. We'll see more of that in the near future, which is great. But again, 800 room nights more than what was guesstimated. So way to break records. We love that. I think we're looking at possibly having those conversations. I think maybe would love to bring it back in 3 more years. You can nod your head. I think that's right. Yeah, they're already obligated to, I think, Pittsburgh next year and somewhere else the year after that. Maybe we can bring them back. But I know how much they said they loved it. So hopefully we'll get them back here.
How could they not?
I know, pretty awesome stuff. Besides that, I mean, I really don't have anything. If you're ever out in the Wesley Chapel area, take a ride by the Wiregrass Ranch Sports Complex. It's moving and grooving, and a lot of dirt's moving out there, and hopefully sooner or later the weather needs to agree with us, and hopefully it'll get off the ground, like I said, sooner than later. We're looking forward to that. So that's all I got.
All right. Ms. Starkey?
Well, continuing on the same vein as Commissioner Moore, it was brought up in the workshop, so I'm going to go ahead and bring it up. Much more to be discussed. I don't know if Keith is still here, but my husband serves on a board called Positive Coaching Alliance with Bill Wickett from the Lightning, and they approached him to approach me to talk about putting in some roller hockey, a roller hockey field here in Pasco County. It's a program that they have going on where they're going to invest in the counties around Hillsborough to encourage youth to get involved in roller hockey and build that fan base. I think it's very smart. And so Dan Biles, Keith, and Trey and I had a wonderful meeting with a couple of folks from the Lightning, and we did get them to commit to 2 fields in Pasco County, and I believe we have to put the land in, and I think we pour the pad, I can't remember how much more we do. And I guess some of it depends on us. Oldsmar's putting a roof in over theirs and making it, you know, a all-weather facility. But I'm just really grateful to the Lightning for agreeing to put, to come in with two facilities. They're gonna bring all the equipment and be very engaged in our program. So it's a win for our citizens. So I know Keith's working on where those fields might be. I have an ongoing problem with dumping in Holiday Lakes, and it is getting worse and worse. We've already, we've filmed one group of guys dumping into a canal there from a construction site, and they are, I believe the sheriff's office is federally charging them. But the dump, we cannot keep up with the dumping that's going on out there in Holiday. So I need some cameras, I need something, but it is out of control, and it's just been escalating. So we have all kinds of appliances in the canal.
Have you reached out to Mike about that?
Oh, yeah, they've been out there, and the minute they leave, someone comes in and takes in a whole new load and dumps it in there. So I've asked if we could have a transfer station out there, but I was told we needed 40 to 60 acres. However, I was meeting with people, and we looked at a transfer station in Tarpon Springs that's much smaller than that. But I think the answer is to find a place where people can more conveniently dispose of their trash close, because it's a far drive to go from Holiday Lakes to Hayes Road. And I think it'll be cheaper for us to have a transfer station than to keep going out and cleaning out all this trash that's going along Strawber and Anclote and all those roads out there. The one at Tarpon Springs, I have someone bringing back to me what the dimensions are, or the footprint of that one in Tarpon Springs, how small it is, and it apparently works very well. Lastly, I keep asking for lights, someone to tell me how we can get just a few lights on Trouble Creek. I think I've been asking for a couple years, I have seen nothing. So I don't know what the process is, but I've asked and asked. It goes from light to dark to light. It is a collector road, so it'd be us. But there are some businesses that have some roads out there. I have some lights that adequately light the sidewalk that people are on. But there are places where it gets really dark, and there's quite a bit of traffic, foot traffic on that sidewalk. So again, I am asking, and I hope you put this on your action item so I at least hear something back of some lights on Trouble Creek. And if you haven't seen it, the landscaping on 19 is looking fabulous.
Mm-hmm.
Commissioner Mariano, are they up in your district yet?
Not yet.
Yeah,
Not yet, but
it's
it looks
looking
great.
really nice, and everyone's very excited for it, so thank you very much. That's it for me.
That's it?
Mr. Chairman, I apologize, real quick.
All right.
It is also Teacher Appreciation Week to our educators out there. I said Nurses Week, but it's also Teacher Appreciation Week, so thanks to all our educators
Yep.
that are probably not watching us on television right now because they are teaching.
Getting ready for summer.
All right.
Good. We do have a very important spouse.
Oh, wait, I
Yes.
wanted to introduce somebody.
Wait a
Catherine, would you come up very quickly, please? KB? So, I did a little different route, and I elevated Michelle to my ledge assistant.
The links are PDF.
And so,
Give the picture of the code first.
I wanted to introduce my new executive assistant. This is Catherine Babcock. We call her KB. And Catherine, you want to tell a little bit about yourself?
Hello, yes, I graduated from Florida State University.
Woohoo, that's why I hired her.
Yeah. Last year I got my degree in political science, and I recently worked on former Senator Danny Young's campaign. It was a great experience, and I also worked on Wendy Pepe's campaign. She recently ran for Tampa City Council. So, and now I'm here.
And tell a little bit about your family history here in Pasco County, which I
yes.
didn't know when I hired her.
Yes, so my family, my dad was born in New York, but then they relocated to Pasco County. They lived off of 52 in Beacon Woods on the golf course, and my grandfather was the president of Community Bank when it was here, so, or one of the branches.
And my father-in-law, I guess, was on their board. But
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
No relation to Badcock Furniture family?
No.
No
They're down in
distance?
Pinellas. I know them. I can introduce them. You can check.
Check if there's any lineage there, see if you're owed
They have a
anything.
very nice ranch.
Well, welcome, KB.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
we call her
Appreciate
Katie.
it.
Yeah.
We won't hold
Okay.
Florida State against you.
Yeah.
Go next.
Mr. Mariano?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Last meeting, I think we talked about a property on Ivanhoe with a blue roof on it. Staff's actually working on that now. Hopefully, we'll get some help with it. I've got actually a local roofer that will actually help donate to defray the cost we can get in there, but we need to get in there just to see if there's black mold in that house to make sure the people are safe. We had a big rainstorm the other day, and I found a new thing that needs to get looked at, and I think staff's already working on it. Mike, Nancy Benitez from Gulf Islands called in. Dan, you have that picture?
Yeah, Nicole's gonna get it up.
Okay. There's a picture of some water that accumulated, and I'll tell you, on Beaconwoods Drive, or actually south of it on 52 where Majestic is, there's a Walgreens there, we just put a sidewalk in. There's a ditch that runs down in that area, and I've never seen water in it. Where we're gonna put the new fire station off 52, there's an area that's down part of Gulf Highlands, which sometimes get water, sometimes not. This last storm, they got a major flow of water that's in there. It was flowing like a little bit of a river, you might say. And staff is now gonna look, they think the drains are clogged, and that may be why we never see water getting into that other ditch that's right there. So, Mike, if you could, I'd be happy to even go out with staff to go take a look at that, but I think the residents are onto something as far as where that water should flow and how it's blocked, which may explain why the water never gets there. And I think it could help that whole area. I recently got a few emails this past week. You might have heard the Lynx Golf Course in Hudson is going to be shutting down. I know a few years ago, the owner of the Lynx, who now owns Beacon Woods Golf Course, went to the residents about a plan to try to get some capital money from them, trying to do something voluntarily. It did not work. I don't know what he plans to do out there, but the residents are very concerned. Between wetlands out there and some areas that might have been filled in, I'm not sure how the drainage is going to work out there, out in the area, or how even well that actually fits to actually develop homes if that's his objective. But it's something that, so there's that roadway that's right there, and there is like literally a ditch that's down the street that could connect. So we need to make sure that there is a connection there that's opened if it's closed. I mean, like I said, it's going to be important for us
I
to.
see an illegal structure parked in front of someone's house.
Well, and who knows where that came from, where it had to get moved from. Anyway, so again, Mike, I know you're working on it. I'd be happy to go out there too. So anyway, with the golf course, I've actually reached out to the owner after several residents have called me.
That's crazy.
There's nothing in development right now to looking at the project as far as rezoning or anything else, but he just plans to shut the golf course down. I'm just hopeful he's not going to do what the owner of the Timber Oaks Golf Course did, was just play hardball with the people, make them suffer, make coyotes go out there, let the thing just go to pot before they actually bring something forward. So I just want the board to know I'm going to be looking at this closely, and hopefully we can find a better situation, because I just don't want to see all the health of the community go downhill and the impact affected by the people.
What's it called?
The Lynx Golf Club.
They could
You can continue to see it happen.
do an MSBU and buy it and make it into a park.
Like I said, these people bought here for a golf course. It's designed for a golf course. It's hard to do much else. There's a picture of it right there. You can kind of see the golf course around the area. Now, that center part of the area is not part of the golf course. There is developable land there. I know years ago they talked about trying to make something happen. It may just make it more accessible there, but again, I'm not sure what's going to happen with the property, but around it, it's really tough to, it would be tough to put any homes in there anyway, never mind what the stability of the soil is in that area. And I think with our new laws about as far as where you need to build, if you have a sinkhole-prone area you can't go to, you've got to go around it. I don't know how much viable land they'd actually have anyway, but I just hate see the people suffer while this goes forward. So I'll just be letting you know what's going on. I think it's
Mr.
very.
Chairman, I got it. Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
Okay.
Mr. Moore?
So, do you know if the owner attempted to sell the actual golf course? Was it on the market?
No, they
shut down.
They bought it with the person who used to be a partner with the Meadow Oaks Golf Course years
Oh, yeah, I
ago.
remember when they did that.
They split off, so he retained ownership of that, and he did try to work with the residents about getting contributions to come in for capital expenditure for like a 5-year plan, from what I was shown.
Didn't work.
I don't know how it exactly played out, but yeah, they didn't agree to it. But, talking to some folks there, they're willing to sit down, talk it through, or there could be a better way to go for it.
So what they did at Plantation Palms, just so you know, because I
Shut down for a
got
while,
to
yeah.
know the people there really well and know some of the people that are on the board there. With the owners now, they worked a deal between the HOA, and obviously it's an HOA. The HOA worked with the residents, and when the new ownership came in, the HOA got the residents to agree to pay what's the word I'm looking for? I'm trying to think what I had.
Assessment?
No, it wasn't assessment. It's more of a, each of them have a clubhouse membership, is what I should say, okay? So they all agreed to pay for it. Doesn't mean they're gonna play golf, but kind of a club membership. Each one would pay for, so that helped the new operator come in,
Right.
obviously, and try to, at least try to break even for a while, while they were building, because the new operator had to come in and redo the entire course. There's a lot, put millions of dollars in it to get that thing in shape. But the residents agreed on it because they wanted to keep their golf course. And it's worked, so it's working now.
That's the only way they stay viable.
Yeah, so that's an idea. Unfortunately, the current owner is gone, but maybe they can try to find another ownership group that's willing to come in if the residents are willing to pay that, quote, membership, mandatory membership, I guess you could call it. It's not that much money.
Right.
I can't tell you exactly what it is, but I know it's like under $100 a month.
Okay. If you
So
could,
that's an idea.
If you could get me that type of information, because I was kind of like hoping to brainstorm a little bit to talk about it, because I know how it's happened before, but I hadn't thought about Plantation Palms. It is a great community, should be a golf course. This is like the same type of thing, not as
Right.
great a golf course as Plantation
Right.
Palms, but still that integral part of the community where people love it there. And I think at this point, they're willing to really take a look at that. They would actually had that conversation, couldn't find out how to do it, so I want to study from Plantation Palms. I'll bring those ideas to them.
Yeah.
And let
You
them
have
know.
to get creative now. And then also, there's a new ownership recently at Lexington Oaks, so you can maybe reach out to the new owners there.
Okay.
They did purchase it. I'm not saying they're looking to buy more golf course. I'm just throwing stuff out at you, because I understand the situation you're going through, because I have lots of golf courses, obviously, in my district. And unfortunately, they don't always make it nowadays.
No, and I think what people have learned from, let's say, Timber Oaks, that they don't want to go see that go down a pot and just have to spend more to bring it back.
Yeah.
If there's a way to make it happen now, those are two great examples, and I'm going to go try to learn from those and see what they did. But thank you.
You got it.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
Just
Okay.
one other idea.
Okay.
We go to the state legislature, we try to look for money. I mean, you've got to have a plan in place, you got to have costs in place, try to make things happen. I know Representative Mariano tried to work with Representative Zeker up at Hudson and Engle Park to try to go do something there. They had to push on designs to bring something forward. It might even take matching investment. I've talked to staff for a long time, and I want to say, out at Sunwest Park, the new walkway is fantastic. People love it. It looks really good. It's going to protect the sand as well as gives you a chance to walk around, but you can't cross the whole lake yet. Staff was going to do some studies next year to go find out, to design a project. I don't really want to wait another year. If we can find a way, maybe staff can bring a budget item back to us to go find out what it would take to actually design to connect the trail around the lake, which may be going upland, maybe going across the water. We can go try to get all the funding for it, but unless we have that plan in place, we can't get it. And I really think we have now to October to get that plan in place before committee weeks happen to try to make that happen. And again, they were going to do it next year. I just want to try to see if we can find a way to move it up. So maybe the staff could bring an agenda item back. I don't know if I need to make a motion for that, or can we just do something?
Well, I mean,
I don't
you're
know
going
what you're
to
talking
add more
about,
general fund money into the parks budget in order to make that happen.
Right,
So you're
so
going to be
I
pulling it
think
out of
we need more
reserves and it's, we're going through the budget for 2020 right now. That, I don't even recall where that is on the priority list for parks. So, I don't know. Obviously, the pleasure of the board. If the board wants to do that, then we'll do that.
I mean,
It's just
you've got like a 3-month window to get it done. If you wait till October, you're not going to get it till the following year.
I just don't know where that is on our priority list, and there's other things on there that I'm just not ready to pull a trigger on a certain project without looking at all the projects and seeing which ones we want to go after for legislative appropriations. So,
Well, can I tag on that a little bit? because I was going to bring this up earlier too, so it has to kind of do with what you're talking about. This is just I don't know if Ralph's still here. I think Ralph left. Oh, Ralph. Oh, there's Ralph. I think going forward too, is one thing we need to consider when we do our legislative priorities is that we need to slim it down a little bit. And Ralph, you don't have to respond, or it's your call, but it's just a thought. You know, look at one a district or something like that, because when we throw, and this is my opinion too, when we throw 20, 30 items at them, or 15 items, whatever it may be, it can be a little it'll be a little cumbersome. And it'd be nice just to go in there with, 3, 4, 5, that's it, and focus. And I think Ralph can tell you, that's kind of how I work it every year myself. I try to really focus on a particular item and just work hard on that item.
What you find out, though, that like in mine and your district, we're growing so much, there's a lot of need coming up in our district where it might not be in, not that there's not other needs.
Well, I think everybody has needs in their districts.
Yeah, everybody has needs.
I don't think anybody is.
But when you got
and it doesn't
growth
have to be
coming
per
your way
district.
so fast.
And I understand what you're saying, but I just don't, it's my opinion that we need to very closely this next time around, because I have a feeling Ralph's going to be coming to us rather quickly, because in the fall they're going to start the committee weeks, is that we need to slim it down.
Mr.
And again, that's nothing to do with yours. This is something I forgot to mention since you
Starkey.
brought up a legislative priority. I just wanted to bring that up because I forgot about mentioning that.
I personally don't think it should be by commission district, but I think we should look for one key project in our legislative district. So one key project to go in for Commissioner, for Representative Mariana's district, one for Ardians and,
Well, the only problem with that is we get a lot of assistance from Senator Simpson.
yeah, and the
His
Senate,
district's
and the
very
Senate.
thin on the,
Well,
on
the
top of
Senate,
our county.
and, so one in each House member's district and at least one in each senator's district, and make sure we're working with them and they're behind it so that we can all push that together.
Yeah.
But I don't think we should do 5 separate legislative asks.
Well, you're doing like 20 now, so I'm trying to slim it down a little bit.
Well,
I'm trying to give it an
yeah.
idea, as a whole.
And I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, there's a.
And
there's
frankly, some
there's too
things
much.
appeared on that that I didn't vote for and didn't consider as a priority through the county, and it was kind of a surprise to me, so, but Ralph, let's hear your expertise.
Mr. Mariano.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I think, at least one per district, frankly, and I think it should.
Commission district or legislative
Absolutely for
district?
commission district. Yeah.
Really?
You want a commissioner that knows what he needs in his area, what he wants to push forward. And I think we're elected that way. I think it's regionally sets up, we're balanced up population-wise, so that commission can lead the way. And it may even be 2 might be the number, depending if we have, let's say, a senator or representative that kind of work together on a project that's in their district that maybe split a couple of districts, are very close to it. So I think at least 1 per, but I think, Commissioner Moore, you are dead on the money. When I look at those lists, how do we go spend 5 minutes with someone in an office and say, these are what we want? It doesn't work. And they can't go put 5 things together. They get certain appropriations
Right.
going through, and this year we knew was going to be a tough year of appropriations. Next year could be a better year, and that's why I brought up my idea to you. I want to get just the study done, hearing from Amber how things have to work up there and what she faced up there. If we're going to go look at a project, you better have it designed so you know what the cost is going to be. If you think it's going to be a certain number, they don't want that. They want to know that something's been designed and what the cost is going to be. So I will say, I think, Commissioner Moore, you're dead on the money. We need to shrink it, but I think we should have a responsibility as a commissioner to at least bring one of our own. And if we get a representative and a senator that say, you know what, we want to bring this too, then we add that to the list and we all work together on it. Because then if we have everybody saying, okay, we only got 10 projects or whatever it may be, instead of 30, then we get a much better chance to get them through.
Ralph, you have something to add to that, I'm sure?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to have to agree with you all, and I appreciate you bringing that up now since we are heading in, and I'm going to be coming to you all within the next couple of weeks to start preparing for next year's list. I think short and sweet, condensed is best. One by district is a good way of handling it, by commission district. I think what we really need to look at are the big projects, the big infrastructure projects, which we have plenty of them on our, that we need to do. Shovel-ready is another category that the legislature likes for us to be prepared and ready to go, and not just planning for projects and funding for planning of projects. But I was thinking the same thing. I noticed when I would give to not only our delegation, but to other legislators, our priority, even our small, trifold that we had put together, that just boggled their mind. That just, it was too much. It was too much. They're used to getting something on like a little card, and I thought this year coming forward, we would have not only focus on our budgeting needs, but I did start working to address a policy issue that our county attorney has been wanting to address for several years, that our delegation is willing to work with us this year, coming year, and that is the public records issue. So, yay. So, again, short and sweet, condensed is best, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, single palm card. You can put projects on the front and policies on the back.
Okay.
That's done.
Anything else?
So let me just ask a question, because again, it's the start of the conversation. Can I get a staff to bring back, at the board's approval, to go bring back a cost estimate of what it would take to design the walkway to connecting at SunWest? Just give us a number, give us an agenda item.
What do you think it costs? That's fine.
What it would cost, and then we can look at it and vote on it, but just let me get the agenda item in front of us so we can see it.
Yeah.
Is that okay? That's my motion, second.
Is that that has to be a motion?
That's a motion.
I don't know, but frankly, I want to get it
You're
done
just
soon,
giving-
sometimes
really,
I
I think
do.
you're giving direction
Yeah.
and bring back
Let's
the
just
cost
give us
estimate.
direction.
And
on
we're
that.
okay with that.
You go with
So
that?
there's three.
We'll put on the action item list, and so we'll send you a memo kind of outlining what the cost that would be. I don't know, it needs to be a board action to tell you what the cost is.
Okay.
And then if then you want to bring it and give us direction to do a budget amendment, then you can do that at a meeting after we give you a memo outlining that, so.
That sounds good.
If I had it for the next meeting, we could look at it, if we liked it, we vote on it and get us in position, because literally, we don't have a lot of
If we
time.
get it by then, we'll be fine.
Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Miles?
Just a few things. I'll start with, since we have a golf course on the screen, the Timber Oaks project is complete. So that is done, thanks to engineering services or project management, and a bunch of other teams that worked on that, including the local community. So we are complete there.
If I could, Mr. Chairman? Just to talk about that, the people are absolutely delighted. I know we had the final details yet, and we're still working a couple of details out, but Mike, your whole team did a phenomenal job to take that property from flooding all the time, only having 3 million gallons of storage to 93 million, and everybody there is thrilled with, they're so much drier and safer. So they feel great about the project. Thank you.
Okay.
So as we talk about taking care of our people, we've opened the Central Pasco Wellness Clinic this week. So that's open for us, and the other constitutionals are part of the health insurance program. And that is open the days that Dade City one is not. So that's Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Dade City's open Tuesday, Thursday.
Cool.
So that's there in the Hap Clark building on the third floor. A couple other things. As a reminder, PCPT does summer student bus passes, and that will be starting in June. They are actually working right now with Marchman Technical and libraries to put a kind of an educational video together for the students on how do you ride a bus. So we're actually working with the school and with libraries to put a video together, an educational, how do you ride a bus, to teach the students how to do that. So thanks to the school district for that. Then we have one of our agents at the Cooperative Extension, Sherry Bresnan, won a Program of Excellence Award for her program, educational program designed to help to teach participants how to keep their blood pressure low. So again, another award-winning program in one of our departments in the county. So, so that's all I have today, Commissioner. So, thanks.
You. Mr. Feinstein?
I don't have anything for you today. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir. Just a reminder that in addition to being Nurses Week and Education Week, it's Juror Appreciation Month. So please thank a juror. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. That's it. Okay.
When you're done, I have some.
Well, go ahead.
Except I'm not sure of the date, but we're hosting the next TMA meeting And the Hilton Garden Inn has graciously waived their fee for us. And so we're going to be doing it there at the Suncoast. And while we are not going to have USF film the whole thing and do it live, we would be interested in doing some kind of live Facebook feed or taping it in some way. So I don't know what kind of equipment the county has that we could tape it and then make it available to any county that wants to put it on their government channel. And we talked about this, and none of the other commissioners were sure about this, but it's my understanding that on the Pasco County government channel, you can only see it in Pasco County. And if you're in Hillsborough County, you only see it in Hillsborough when you have a meeting. And if we're in Pinellas, you only see it in Pinellas. And the other commissioners didn't realize that.
Yeah.
So that is correct, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, if there's some way that we can film it and make it available, that would be great. But we didn't, it was $2,000, I think, to have our system set up there. And no one wanted to do that when you can't see it in the other counties anyway. So.
Right.
So so more people can come to that meeting since it's here local, and you'll see an announcement going out. But thank you to the Hilton Garden Inn.
Okay, all right, good. One thing, I had a meeting last night with R.J. Huss, new president of Pasco County Fair Association, and Clark Converse, the manager of the daily operations, and Dr. Elmore, and we discussed the extension service building, and we're waiting on finalizing the plans for that before we get started. But the meeting went over very well, and we were very pleased with the outcome and with the fact that we're all on the same page, and things are going to move forward and be better for everybody. So that's all I have. With that, we'll adjourn till 1:30 for public hearing.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to call back to order the Pasco County Board of County Commission meeting of May 7th, 2019. I would like to remind everyone present, please silence all electronic devices. At this time, we'll have Resolution 1.
Is anybody here representing water reuse? Could come forward to the podium, please?
I know that gentleman right there is representing.
Great. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Resolution number 19-160, whereas safe, clean, and sustainable water resources are essential to Pasco County's environment, economy, citizens, and visitors. And whereas, although Pasco County has a limited supply of fresh water in our lakes, rivers, and underground aquifer, the county's population and need for water resources continues to increase. And whereas Florida has established chapters 373 and 403 to encourage and promote water reuse. And whereas reused water is purified using science-based standards to meet specific needs, including environmental restoration, irrigation, industrial operations, and energy generation. It also helps to ensure a reliable supply of potable water during times of extreme drought. And whereas Florida is a national leader in water reuse, recycling 760 million gallons of reclaimed water per day to conserve freshwater supplies and recharge our freshwater resources. And whereas Florida's permitted reuse capacity exceeds 1.6 billion gallons per day, representing approximately 69% of Florida's total permitted capacity for all domestic wastewater treatment facilities. And whereas Pasco County has implemented a dynamic reclaimed water program which encourages safe, efficient, and effective use of reclaimed water. And whereas Pasco County treats wastewater to public access standards, stores more than 700 million gallons at 2 reservoirs and 10 tanks, and delivers approximately 21.4 million gallons per day of high-quality reclaimed water to 38,000 residents and a variety of other customers and locations. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Pasco County, Florida, that said board hereby declares May 12th to the 18th, 2019 as Water Reuse Week and calls upon citizens and businesses to help protect our precious water resources by practicing water-saving measures and using reclaimed water in an efficient and effective manner. Done and resolved in regular session with the quorum present and voting this 7th day of May, 2019, signed by the board.
Move for approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion passed. Welcome, Mr. Cabral.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. We do appreciate, on behalf of Pasco County Utilities and the men and women there who do such a great job every day for this resolution. Reclaimed water is something to be proud of in Pasco County, and our use of it is, I consider to be leadership in the field. Whether it's our 4G wetland project, which restores aquifer and groundwater levels, to just our use of purple pipe, if you will, through new development. It's something to truly be proud of, and we thank you for this opportunity to declare this, what you've done. So.
Well, thank you for everything you do in that area of reclaimed water, and that happens in case the rest of the commission doesn't realize that's in my district, so I'll take blame for it.
Well, we thank you for
But
your
it's
support.
great. It's a great project, and it's I think it's showing results. And when you go by and you see the cypress trees and the ponds that are there and they're full of water, it's like it used to be back many years ago. So, and that's what we're trying to achieve, I'm sure. So, would the board like to join me down front for pictures?
All right. Good to see you.
First time. You got one more. Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you, Mike.
Painted black and gold.
Okay, resolution 2.
Is there anyone here representing Travel and Tourism Week? If you come forward, please.
Cattle?
Yeah.
Travel?
Oh, travel. I thought you said cattle and tourism.
Cattle and tourism. It's a new, yeah, we've been pushing that really hard lately.
Agritourism.
Cattle and tourism.
Last year's CAFR had a cow on the front, I'm just saying.
It's a new ride
We
at
do
Disney.
like cattle,
There's
but this
actually
is
MMB
about
dairy
travel.
up in Citrus County that actually cows sleep on water beds. They're stress-free cows.
This is true.
This is true.
Wow.
This is true. This is true.
Well, resolution number 19-158, whereas National Travel and Tourism Week 2019 will take place on May 5th to the 11th. It is the 36th annual celebration of the contributions and accomplishments of the U.S. travel industry. And whereas tourism is Florida's top economic driver, adding $3 billion in state sales tax revenues annually that provides funding to build roads, support schools, and pay for vital statewide programs. Awareness of the tourism industry's integral role in the economic success of the state of Florida will encourage promotion of tourism activities and continue to increase the number of visitors to the state and Pasco County. And whereas in 2018, the tourism industry contributed more than $615 million to Pasco County's economy, including over $436 million in direct spending by 965,000 visitors. Tourism in Pasco County generated more than $57 million in taxes, including over $2.5 million of tourist development tax revenues. Visitors spending in 2018 saved each Pasco County household $294 in taxes, and every 129 visitors created one job in Pasco County. Whereas the tourism industry provides 7,480 jobs in Pasco County and $156 million in wages, which decreases the county's unemployment rate and improves residents' quality of life. And whereas in 2018, visitors generated over 1.1 million room nights in Pasco County And whereas each dollar in marketing spent by the Pasco County Destination Management Organization resulted in $1,019 in visitor spending, a significant return on investment. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Pasco County, Florida, that said board hereby declares the week of May 5th to the 11th, 2019 as Travel and Tourism Week in Pasco County and encourages all citizens to recognize the importance of this vital industry to our area. Done and resolved in regular session with the quorum present and voting this 7th day of May 2019, signed by the board.
Move for approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Great.
All opposed, like sign. Motion passed.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Yep. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Adam, welcome. I have the honor of chairing the Tourism Council. I think it's been about going on 2 years now, and it's been a joy working with you and your team. You're doing great things.
Likewise.
Isn't it? Well, thank you. And the numbers show it. And $615 million to Pasco County's economy, $436 million in direct spending by over 965,000 visitors, and you set records last year, and we're thrilled about that. And like we mentioned earlier, just a recent event, over 2,000 room nights for one event, another new record. So you're doing incredible things. We'll continue to support you in your efforts and your team's efforts. So I will pass it on to you, my friend.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Chairman Oakley, fellow commissioners. We're honored to be here and to celebrate this this annual time for tourism, and not only within Pasco County, within the nation. This is a time where the tourism industry kind of unites together and really pats ourselves on the back for the work that we do and the work that we do together with the Board of County Commissioners and local stakeholders and local municipalities and tourism businesses all throughout the destination. We could not be here without the support of the Board of County Commissioners now and what we're going to do in the future. So for that, we thank you so much for the resolution and the recognition that is here before you today.
Great.
Thank you.
I think
Go down for pictures?
we'll step down and
Okay.
present this.
Come back up.
Uh-oh, I can't.
Never mind.
Something smells good over here.
Resolution 3.
Okay, is anyone here representing the mental health awareness area? Please, all of you come forward.
Quite a group.
That's the aging one next.
Yeah.
Great, you're well represented. Resolution number 19-161, whereas addressing the complex mental health and wellness needs for youth and families today is a fundamental key to the future of Pasco County. Untreated mental health issues in children and youth can lead to lifelong challenges for families and our community. And whereas 1 in 5 children ages 13 to 18 have or will have a serious mental illness. Youth and adults who suffer from mental illness deserve to be treated with the utmost respect and dignity. Stigma and fear of discrimination may keep those who might benefit from mental health services from seeking help. And whereas Pasco County is committed to raising public awareness about mental health wellness, and how it may be affecting individuals, families, and the community by promoting services that are family-driven, youth-guided, culturally and linguistically competent, and community-based. And whereas in 2017, the Florida Department of Children and Families Children's Mental Health System of Care Sustainability Grant was awarded to the Sixth Circuit, Pinellas, and Pasco counties to build an infrastructure of partners and create a system of care network for youth with mental illness and their families. The governance body of this grant in Pasco County is the Children's Behavioral Health Partnership. And whereas the Children's Behavioral Health Partnership's vision is to share information, advocacy, and access to quality behavioral health for all children and their families in our region. Their mission is to develop a community collaborative that is family and youth-driven to promote awareness and enhance access to recovery services to improve the overall wellness in Pasco County. And whereas to help more children and adults achieve long-term recovery and learn how recovery positively benefits the state's overall well-being, the Pasco County Children's Behavioral Health Partnership invites all residents to do their part in celebrating Children's Mental Health Awareness Day and Mental Health Awareness Month. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Pasco County, Florida, that said board hereby declares the month of May Mental Health Awareness Month and May 9th, 2019 as Children's Mental Health Awareness Day in Pasco County, and hopes to help all citizens learn about the mental health resources that are available and that recovery is possible. Done and resolved in regular session with the quorum present and voting the 7th day of May 2019, signed by the board.
Move for approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion passed. Welcome.
Welcome. Well, hi, how we doing? Welcome, thank you all. I got my name and pin on right here for you. How about that?
Here we go.
Good. So, special place in my heart for obviously everything you guys do. My mother, which I know is watching on television right now because she watches the shows. They call it a show, but the meetings, I should say, is a mental health counselor herself. So a licensed mental health counselor. So obviously, a lot of experience in our family, and me in the past owning a home care company, we obviously had a lot of quite a few patients that we did suffer for some mental health disorders. So we've been around it quite a bit as a family. So we appreciate everything that each and every one of you do. Very important to obviously not only our county, but on a national and international level, trying to do what we can for these good people. So I don't know which one of you is going to be speaking, but I see two of you at the mic, so maybe you're sharing. Go right ahead.
I think more than two, probably.
Yes.
Well, I don't think we're going to let the whole, you might be here until next year, but we'll go ahead and let a couple people speak, so.
We certainly appreciate this opportunity. I'm Jody Nicosia. I'm the chair of the Pasco County Children's Behavioral Health Partnership that's led under the grant, and these are our members here, and we're really appreciative that you could allow us to come out here today and continue to raise awareness for mental health needs in our community. We certainly want to make sure that everyone receives a NAMI green pin ribbon so that you can promote that, as well as we want to share that we have our Go Green campaign going on now. We would like for the community, as well as all of us, to try to wear green, as well as utilize taking pictures and posting them on our social media accounts, utilizing the hashtags not alone, let's talk about it, and or it starts here, because as you mentioned, Mr. Moore, we have so much mental illness that affects every one of us in so many ways that we want to make sure that we recognize that if it's something that someone needs to reach out for help, that we make that available and available. So, and I'll let Dr. Shanae talk.
Jody said it wonderfully. I just want to say thank you.
So your name, I'm sorry, your name for the record.
I'm Dr. Shanae Simmons. I am also a licensed mental health counselor here in the county. And I just want to say thank you for that. As you can see, we believe in partnership. We all showed up collectively, and we just want everyone to recognize that it's not an individual family issue, it is a community issue. And as you pursue your own mental wellness, we ask the community to join in the fight to help other families establish mental wellness for our children. So just thank you again.
Great, well, thank you all so much. And we'll come down and present some resolutions. And
Okay.
organizations here, so, so why don't we'll come in here, we'll take a pic. Okay. We'll try that out. So we'll, Dr., you, okay, so, okay. Well, Andy, hold on, go ahead. Then we're gonna do, we can get everybody to take that. Everybody look at Andy. Everybody turn around, look at Andy. Now, here's what we're going to have you guys do. We're going to have you go back towards the dais. That way you can get a better shot of everybody here. I do not, ma'am. I have my green now. Very good.
He was just showing the ammo, we'll just take a picture.
Thank you.
Well, Andy was going to put the new USF logo on his phone.
You'll see it on TV the rest of the day.
Thank you.
That just means I have to talk a lot because when the camera's on me, then you can see it right back there, right? So I'll just talk just to talk. Just kidding.
So we're on,
Jeff, you got to keep that?
which one was that?
4, this is 4. Are you ready?
All right, resolution 4,
Okay, is there anyone here representing the Older Americans Month?
right there.
Come forward, please.
I'll represent himself.
Okay, resolution number 19159. Whereas Pasco County includes a growing number of older Americans who enrich our community through their diverse life experiences, and whereas Pasco County and the Area Agency on Aging of Pasco Pinellas Incorporated are committed to strengthening our community by connecting with and supporting older adults, their families, and caregivers, and acknowledging their many valuable contributions to society. And whereas Pasco County and the agency recognize the importance of bringing together all generations and engaging in activities that promote physical, mental, and emotional well-being for the benefit of all. And whereas Pasco County and the agency work together to enhance the lives of older Americans in the community by promoting home and community-based services that support independent living, involving older Americans in community events and other activities, and providing opportunities for older Americans to work, volunteer, learn, lead, and mentor. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Pasco County, Florida, that said board hereby proclaims May 2019 to be Older Americans Month and urges every resident to take time during this month to recognize older adults and the people who serve them as essential and valuable members of our community. Done and resolved in regular session with the quorum present and voting this 7th day of May 2019, signed by the board.
Move approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say like sign. Pass. Motion pass. Welcome.
Thank you. Anne Marie Winter, Area Agency on Aging of Pasco and Pinellas, here with Pasco County and Bob Hatfield on our board. you know how important you guys are to us. We really appreciate the partnership we have with Pasco County, Kathy Pearson and all of her team. We couldn't do it without you. We appreciate the investment that we make in the services and that you make. So on behalf of older Americans in Pasco County, thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for all the work you do. Would y'all join me for pictures down below?
About to
I'm a senior.
It's all relative.
I'm the only senior. Only senior on it.
And I owe you a lunch date. I'm gonna come down to you. I can't.
Hey, how are you? Can you see you through there? Yeah.
We have to.
Are we good? Where did Bob go? There we go.
You got it?
Can you see?
Can we see him?
Here, come on, this is why, come this way.
I don't think you can see Catherine or Paula and back. Yeah, please. Paula. Me.
Gonna start taking a knee.
That's perfect. Oh, come back here, come back here.
Ralph, will you send that to us, to me? Thank you.
All right. Good job. Thank you, guys. Appreciate all y'all do.
I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. It's all good.
Now we will proceed with the public hearing agenda, starting with P1, ordinances.
We do have proof, yes. We have, it was advertised in the Tampa Bay Times, January 18th, 2019.
Good afternoon, Amy Heiler with Planning and Development. Item P1 is a continuance for a large-scale comprehensive plan amendment in the name of CPEL 1819 Rivers Landing. The continuance is requested to May 21st, 2019 BCC meeting at 1:30 in Newport Richey.
Move to continue time certain?
Second.
Got 'em. Is this Rogan?
No.
No. Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion passed. P2.
We do have proof, Tampa Bay Times, January 25th, 2019.
Fantastic. Okay, Amy Heiler, Planning and Development. Okay, so item number P2 is an adoption hearing for a large-scale comprehensive plan amendment in the name of CPEL 1909 TRP Office LLC, which was previously named Project Canopy. Since this is the adoption hearing, I will go ahead and read the ordinance into record. It's an ordinance amending the Pasco County Comprehensive Plan, providing for a large-scale comprehensive plan amendment to the future land use maps, map 2-15 and sheet 20, changing from ROR retail office residential to PD planned development on approximately 72.6 acres of real property located on the southwest intersection of Sun Lake Boulevard and State Road 54, and a text amendment to subarea policy FLU 7.1.1 Long Lake Ranch, and an amendment to the future land use subarea map 2-9-4, providing for repeal or severability and an effective date. So the subject property is located on the southwest intersection of Sun Lake Boulevard and State Road 54 in the South Market area. Oops. It needs to go back one. Thank you. The project overview is a large-scale comprehensive plan amendment from ROR to PD. The sub-area policy is a text amendment to FLU 7.11 Long Lake Ranch. It's going to include compatible light industrial, distribution and logistics, research corporate parks, and target industries to the general range of potential uses, as well as remove the development of regional impact language, which was rescinded by BCC on July 10th in 2018. And then a sub-area map amendment. Is that working? Sorry. The existing FLU, this is the inset of the existing FLU showing the ROR, and the proposed FLU showing the PD. The site characteristics, it is going to be modifying only the parcel AB as part of Long Lake Ranch MPUD. It is going to be consistent with policy FLU 1.2.3 as the category 1 and 2 wetlands identified on the property shall be protected and conserved in accordance with, as well as the parcel abuts a wellhead and is located within 5 to 10 year wellhead protection area. The light industrial uses allowed on this site will be in accordance with policy FLU 1.7 or 1.2.17 to 1.2.21, as well as it will not conflict with LDC section 808. And this is the visual inset or the visual master plan showing you that that is parcel AB that is being amended right now. This is the sub-area map that will also include parcel AB being amended within Long Lake Ranch. That's going to be the yellow portion of this area. The surrounding zoning districts are primarily MPUD as well as AC agricultural districts. The future land use is residential 3 ROR, conservation lands, PD and Res 3 as well as the existing surrounding uses are vacant commercial and mixed use. The proposed amendment from ROR to PD is consistent with the intent of PD as it provides a variety of land uses and intensities within the development and encourages large-scale employment opportunities within Pasco County. And it is also consistent with policy FLU 1.23 for the category 1 wetlands, whereas it's protected and conserved in accordance with the economic development policy FLU 1.8.7, as it emphasizes target industries as the most effective means for increasing economic prosperity, as well as consistent with policy FLU 8.1.2 South Market area establishment, as it encourages development in order to maximize the land available for office and other business development. There was no transportation needs assessment as it was exempt. The utility needs assessment is sufficient, and the emergency management and school have no concerns. So with that, on April 4th, 2019, the Department of Economic Opportunity received the transmittal package and completed the expedited review process on April 22nd with no comments. So with all of that, we recommend the board action approve the proposed amendment by roll call vote.
Okay.
If you have
I
any
do not have a
questions.
sign-up sheet, but is there anyone here to speak against this motion?
This is an ordinance, so
Ordinance?
it's pro or con.
Pro or con? Anyone speak for it or against it? Yes, come forward.
Barbara Wilhite, 6327 Grand Boulevard, downtown Newport Richey now. Proud to be there. Just for the record, I'm here on behalf of the applicant, and we agree with staff's recommendation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Seeing no one, this is my district, I move approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor, but it's a roll call vote.
District 1, Commissioner Moore.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Wells. District 5, Commissioner Mariano.
Aye.
District 1, Chairman Oakley.
Aye. Motion passed. Thank you. I think you have some walk-ons that you're going to read before P3?
I do. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Denise Hernandez, Planning and Development. There are 2 walk-on items that were advertised for today but did not make the agenda, and I greatly, greatly apologize for that on behalf of Planning and Development. The first one is CPAL 1818, which is Aaron Cutoff. It's for a large-scale comprehensive plan amendment from Res 1 to PD. The item has been withdrawn by the applicant, so there is no further action required on that item, withdrawn by the applicant and by staff. And it was actually withdrawn as well as at the local planning agency on February 21st and at the Board of County Commissioners on March 26th. So
Does
this
that
would have been
have
the
a number,
transmittal
that one?
meeting.
Is that a certain number, or is that a walk-on?
It's a walk-on.
Yeah.
It's not on the agenda.
Oh, it's not
But
on
you
there.
do have an ad.
But it did not make it to your printed agenda.
Oh, okay. All right.
But you do have an ad, so I'm not sure if the
So-
clerk would like to read the ad into
We
record.
need to have one speak, or is it? What you got there? Proof?
So we do have proof, yes, thank you very much.
Thank
Proof
you.
of publication, Tampa Bay Times, February 8th, 2019.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone here to speak?
It's withdrawn.
It's withdrawn, so we don't have to do anything. Okay.
Second walk-on item is PDD 197364 in the name of Aaron Cutoff MPUD, ECOF Project LLC. It's a rezoning from AR Agricultural Residential to an MPUD Master Plan Unit Development District to allow 120 single-family detached homes on approximately 39.93 acres. And this is a request for continuance to the May 21st, 2019 Board of County Commissioners at 1:30 in Newport Richey.
And we do have proof of that too. Tampa Bay Times, February 8th, 2019.
Move to continue, time certain?
Since this was not,
Wait a minute.
since this was not on your published agenda, is there anybody here to speak to that item? Seeing none,
Okay.
the motion's appropriate.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Yeah.
Aye.
All right.
So
All opposed, like sign. Motion passed.
I'll continue on to item P3.
Okay.
Do we,
Okay. Proof?
For
P3?
P4, I thought we did three.
P3. It's a large-scale comprehensive plan amendment, PAW materials.
Yep, Tampa Bay Times, February 8th, 2019.
Okay. Item P3 is PDD 19-0722, large-scale comprehensive plan amendment in the name of PAW Materials, CPAL 1907. This is a request for a continuance to a date uncertain. The applicant will be required to renotice and re-advertise in accordance with the Land Development Code and the comprehensive plan.
Okay. Is anyone here to speak to this item? Seeing no one?
Move to continue, time certain?
No, it says.
I mean, time
Date
uncertain.
uncertain, thank you.
Sorry.
Second.
I got a motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion passed. P4.
We do have proof, Tampa Bay Times, March 15th, 2019.
Item P4 is PDD 19-0961. It's in the name of River Landing Master Plan Unit Development, Zephyr Egg Company. It's a substantial modification to rezone from AC and MPUD to MPUD. And this is a request for a continuance to May 21st, 2019 at 1:30 in Newport Richey.
I do have a question on this one.
Wait a minute. Is there anyone to speak to this item?
Me?
Okay.
Is this the
Commissioner
land that we are trying to get into the PEDC program for targeted industries? I can't remember what you call it when you put a large piece of land in for,
I will get back to you on that.
yeah, I thought it was that, do you know? This is
I don't think there
your
was a
district?
potential economic development project on this site, but that's no.
Well, I'd like to know if this is the land that we were hoping to put one of those big sites with Duke, that Duke worked on? Ready site?
Ready site.
This is along the extension of 56. The new extension?
Yeah,
56,
so
that's
it's
where this
not
is.
part of that property?
I don't think so.
I don't think
I'm
so.
not aware of that.
That's a continuance, so.
Okay.
Move to continue time, or date certain.
Thank you.
Second?
Got a motion second to continue. All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed, like sign. Motion passed. P5.
We do have proof, Tampa Bay Times, January 25th, 2019, and March 15th, 2019, along with affidavit of certified mailings and site postings.
Item P5 is PDD 197397C. This is Long Lake Ranch, MPUD, TRP Office, Florida, and Gerasi, Roy Nicholas III, and Louis Gerasi, LLLP. This is a substantial modification to rezone MPUD and AC to MPUD, and some changes with the MPUD. This is a request to continue the item to May 21st, 2019, Board of County Commissioners meeting at 1:30 in Newport Richey.
Okay. Is anyone here to speak to this item? Seeing no one?
Move to continue time certain.
Second.
And a motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion passed.
And
P6.
And Commissioners, if I may, I'd like to go out of order because item P8 is a continuance as well, since we're going through continuances.
Okay, we do have proof for P8. Is the chairman okay with us
Go
going
ahead.
to
Go ahead,
P8?
proof.
Okay.
Yep.
We do have proof, Tampa Bay Times, March 1st, 2019, and March 16th, 2019.
Item P8 is PDD 197398 in the name of Burge Kanjian and Paul O'Grady. It's a change in zoning from R2 to MF2, and the applicant has requested a continuance to the June 4th, 2019 Board of County Commissioners meeting at 1:30 in Dade City.
Since this was advertised as an approval, is there anybody in the audience that wishes to speak to this item? Seeing none.
Okay.
Move to continue.
Second.
And a motion and a second to continue. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Motion passed. Remain on consent.
No, that's continued.
That was a continuance.
That was continued.
You haven't,
I was, excuse me.
you're just now at your consent agenda, which would be starting at P6.
P6.
Oh, P6, all right.
So we do have proof for P6 and P7, advertised the same date, March 29th, 2019, in the Tampa Bay Times.
There are two rezoning agendas, regular and consent. Staff will present each application to the Board of County Commissioners. If staff or Planning Commission has recommended approval and there is no opposition, the application will be considered by the board without further presentation. If staff or Planning Commission has recommended denial, or if there is opposition to the application, the applicant will be given 5 minutes for presentation. The opposition will be given 3 minutes for each individual, or 5 minutes for a group representative, and the applicant will be given 3 minutes for rebuttal. Any individual disagreeing with staff or planning commission recommendation, or anyone wishing to object to any condition of the rezoning may at this time request the petition be pulled from the consent agenda, in which case that application will be heard under the regular agenda later on during the meeting. Otherwise, all rezoning applications on the consent agenda will be approved by a single motion and vote. If you wish to speak to any petition, please give your name and address and whether or not you've been sworn for the record. These are quasi-judicial public hearings. The law in Florida is that mere public support or opposition of an application is insufficient for this board to take action. Please limit your comments to those criteria found within the board's land development code for rezoning.
Just swearing.
If anyone is interested in speaking on any of these items, if you could stand and raise your right hand, I'll be happy to swear you in. No takers? Thank you very much.
Okay.
Item P6 is PDD 197404. This is in the name of David Gray and Marlene Davids. It's a change in zoning from AR Agricultural Residential and MPUD Master Plan Unit Development Districts to an R1 Rural Density Residential District. This comes to you with a recommendation of approval from both the Planning and Development Department and the Planning Commission.
Okay. No one, I see no one,
Well,
or nobody else.
put it on the record.
Put it on-
Is there anybody here who wishes to object to P6? Seeing no one, leave it on consent.
All right. P7.
Item P7 is PDD 197403 in the name of Chavalita of Crystal Springs LLC. This is a change in zoning from a C2 General Commercial District to an I1 Light Industrial Park District. This comes to you with a recommendation of approval from both the Planning and Development Department and the Planning Commission.
Okay, anyone, go ahead.
Is there anybody in the audience who wishes to object to item P7? Seeing no one rise, leave it on consent.
And that is the end of the consent agenda.
Move approval of consent agenda?
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion passed.
Thank you.
P8,
P8, you've continued.
and it's, oh, it is?
Yeah, that was the one Denise took up in the beginning. So
You're done.
that
End is
concludes,
now. Oh, okay. Okay.
concludes your agenda unless there's anything.
No.
There was no addendum. Yeah.
No,
All right,
that's it.
so that's everything? Anyone have anything else to add to the meeting?
Good.
Seeing none, we adjourn. That was quick.